How do y'all feel about the Twitter $8 checkmark feature?
Oh, we're gonna go there.
Oh, fuck! I will get the blue checkmark just to piss people off because,
You will.
like,
I think it's time for a eugenics program. I'm just saying.
The feed stuff caught me off guard.
so I already know the final topic is going to be about my OnlyFans account.
It's over, dog. Say your prayers.
We started recording without an intro, and got right into chatting about random shit.
Sifu is on the best fighting game
I've
list.
heard.
Oh shit!
Sifu isn't a lot. It's not just the best fighting game, but yeah, that one, like, people have been talking about. Hang on, hang the fuck on. What? Do you guys know the definitions and stuff like that?
Does that game even have a versus mode?
No, it doesn't.
I mean, because technically, by definition, like if we're being literal off just the title, then I guess yeah, it would be technically that. But it's like calling Mirror's Edge a first-person shooter just because you can pick up a gun.
Yes,
and,
people
like,
are
use
saying
it.
that's like, shouldn't Modern Warfare being a fighting game since you fight people in that too?
Or Rumbleverse would also be a fighting game.
Rumbleverse is kind of a fighting game, right? Because
It is,
you do
but was it
literally
mentioned at all?
brawl.
Because it's more of a fighting game than Sifu.
I don't think so.
No, Rumbleverse
Yeah.
is in like
Well,
the multi-game category though, so.
Oh, what else? There's one more game that could like be a
not-
fighting game technically that I'm trying to think about. Yeah, it was on the tip of my tongue too. Like our terms. What?
You got it?
Would you?
No, it's just the other thing I was trying to think of.
Go for it.
I thought you got TrueUnderDawg's back. I got you. I know what you're talking about.
Unfortunately, no. But it's that because the whole thing about being pedantic with the that's what it's called. It's like you do you do this in it, therefore it counts. It's like when I did my Bruce Lee video, I said that UFC isn't a fighting game. Mm-hmm. And people said it clearly is a fighting game. It's like, no, it's a sports game.
Oh.
And people are like, well, it's called Ultimate Fighting Championship, and I'm like, oh yeah, well, so Final Fight's a fighting game, is it? Yeah, the game that got rejected by arcade owners for not being a Street Fighter game because it wasn't a fighting game. Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. It's like, you're really gonna be like that? Like if what it says in the title that means exactly what it is? No.
Yeah.
Just because it says fight doesn't mean it's a fighting game.
I agree. I thought of the game. I remembered what the name of the game is. So
Let's go. Go. Woo.
This game plays just like Sifu, but it came out before it, and it is multiplayer. The whole thing is multiplayer, and a bunch of fighting game players were playing it, but it was an RPG-style fighting game where you learn moves by defeating certain AI, and you have to piece together the individual moves, and you can string the different martial arts together. It's called...
Deception Conquest Mode.
That's good, too. But no, this one's called Absolver. It's called Absolver, and everyone wears a mask, and you can do different fighting styles and stuff. Like you can like fight certain AI to get like the drunken fist technique, and you can mix in drunken fist with like taekwondo kicks and stuff. And it's all about how you block, because you block kind of like For Honor. You have to block in reaction to where the attack is coming from, like up, down, and like left and right. Or you can dodge, or you can parry. So it's a lot of defense and offense. But that game plays very similar to Sifu, but not as good. Because Sifu, when you watch it, is like a movie. When a player's doing it well, it legit looks like a movie. Although to be fair, the majority of my experience watching Sifu was that one channel that does exclusively sexy mods for it. So I just watched Cammy on the first level of Sifu just hop the fence with her cheeks just out. And she's just beating everyone's ass. And I was like, get it, Cammy. Go in there and beat those dudes up.
I want to play Sifu someday, just because one of my friends who loves Sekiro is like, oh, if you like Sekiro, you might want to check this out. And I'm like, I love Sekiro.
It's like a Dark Souls fighting game kind of, because you learn as you do it. Like you get better as you like memorize patterns and stuff. What's funny to me is you can use the environment, which is cool when it's just a bottle or something and you throw it. But you can just straight up like pick up a knife and they go, shit, she's armed, and you start slicing people, and that cracked me up. Yes, my years of martial arts training. Also knife, which makes me better than everyone in the room already because I have a knife and you don't. So I already win.
Your joke kind of reminds me of like in Tekken, when it's like, oh, you got all these like super fighters and you got all the shenanigans going in, and then like Heihachi just like at the end just pulls out a gun and kills shit.
Yeah, not to mention my favorite character in that game, Yoshimitsu, is like technically cheating the whole time because he has a sword. The whole time he just has a sword.
I just remembered. Have either of you two heard of a game called Urban Reign?
Urban Reign. Let's check this out.
Is it spelled like R-E-I-N?
It was a Namco game from like 2005 or so, and it's basically like a bunch of people in the streets beat the shit out of each other. And a lot of moves are borrowed from Tekken. They even have Law and Paul as unlockable characters.
Oh.
But like, and the main character is voiced by Steve Bloom, I think, and he's called like Brad Hawk or something. Like, just ridiculously awesome name. But the final boss is just a dude with a gun, and like he goes down to like 2 hits. But you go down in 1 if he shoots you. Oh. So you have to like try and dodge his bullets and then hit him a couple of times. And it's like, so what you say made me think of that. And I think there's a fight just like that in Final Fight Streetwise.
Final Fight, yeah. The final boss is like literally wheelchair bound with a harpoon or something.
There are a lot of similarities between those 2 games, weirdly enough.
Do you think they stole from each other? Kind of like how Tekken very clearly stole from Street Fighter with like some of the character inspirations and stuff. And I'm not complaining because they're different enough to not be stolen.
Probably.
But like their designs are very similar.
Inspiration. I mean, I'll probably there's a lot of like fighting game 3D like stuff that's all borrowed around that era, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Isn't Kazuya's chest scar just like exactly the same as Sagat's?
Yeah. But he didn't get that until... Did he have that in the beginning? I guess he did. He got the other scars later.
Kazuya did.
Because Kazuya got more damage after he died at the end of Tekken 2.
True.
Yeah.
True.
That's when all the new scars showed up. Before that, I think he was just like edgy boy. Like he had the spiky like Dragon Ball Z hair, but he wasn't like too much else.
Scarred, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Someone did like a really cool edit where they took like just Ken so far, but I'm curious to see if they do more. They did Ken from Street Fighter 6, but gave him a Tekken 4 style intro with like the gritty music in the background, and the narrator sounds just like him, like Ken was the champion of the American martial arts tournament, and he's like reading it out, and he even has artwork that he drew to go along with it. It's pretty good. I was like, oh, that's cool.
I want the voice that goes with it to be like the one from Tekken 5 when he does an impression of the characters, and he actually and he puts on a voice. Like, now I'll show them my power, said Brian.
I always get what I want, said Marduk. We'll never get true alphas like that ever again. Men that just throw girls over their shoulders and walk away.
Marduk will not be a true alpha until he gets his proper accent because he's Australian.
Yeah.
So why the fuck's he not going around calling people can't? It's a bit on the... I don't know if either of you have seen videos by Gizo Guitar. He's like done like an analysis of the themes of Tekken, and he has some really funny jokes about stuff like that, like Marduk, like that. And his idea when he mentions Nina, that she should be Irish, he just goes, "Time to die." It's so funny. I need to go. Time to die.
It reminded me of Marvel Infinite, where there was like a big controversy. Well, controversy in finger quotes because nobody played Marvel Infinite. But everybody was mad.
The game itself is called. that's harsh.
I liked it. It was a fun game, but yeah. But so Morgan, the voice actress in story mode, would just like drop her accent randomly. So sometimes she's Scottish, sometimes she's not. It just kind of drops. Though to be fair,
I think
it's hard.
I think the actress is Welsh or something like that.
Fair enough.
So,
and to be fair, like most of them are brought back from Marvel vs. Capcom 3, but that didn't have a story mode, so I guess people didn't really like care if the voice acting was good. Probably back then, I remember the voice acting is pretty decent too.
No, it was decent. It's just like I think it's hard to do like a consistent accent unless you're actually from the place. Like it's kind of difficult, especially since like Scottish has a weird nuance to it because on the one hand, English, but on the other hand, it's been changed so much, so you gotta balance those two things. That sounds really difficult to me. You just casually slip into regular English if you're not careful, which is pretty much what happens. It's kind of like if someone did a Southern accent but just became regular American in the middle of their sentence, which I imagine is very easy to do, honestly. So.
If you've trained.
I suppose the question is, do you prefer if they tried the accent and just fail and being consistent, or do you prefer if they just didn't bother and were just American?
I prefer maximum
you see
effort.
Stuff
I guess, yeah. I'm glad they tried.
I guess so, yeah.
I look at most fighting games, a lot of fighting game characters, they'll try with some, if they're Russian, usually they'll try the accent. French, sure. English, usually, even if they're American, except Elliot in Dead or Alive, he has an American accent for some reason. But then if they're Asian, no, stay away from that. Let's just have them be American.
Oh, yeah, because it would sound offensive, I guess. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah. But
they can't just do Uncle Raja. They can't just do that. They can't have Uncle Raja as the fighter.
Cooked rice is bad heard.
I think they barely tried with Liu Kang in MK11, where he kind of pauses in between sentences, but that's it. Where he's Chronica.
I mean, to be fair, he has an Asian actor playing him, so I imagine he has some relatives or some experience he can like draw on.
Yeah.
At the very least, but then there's somewhere it's like, I love Richard Epcar's Raiden, but he does not sound like you would expect someone called Raiden with that design to sound.
Yeah, he sounds pretty. He sounds just pretty authoritarianly like normal. Yeah,
But to answer your question though, I like Scottish because Scottish accent be hot. To answer your question, like Scottish women, I'm now finally going to try and watch that Netflix show Dragon Prince, just because there's like a Scottish waifu in there.
Oh my gosh!
And I really want to watch it.
Oh my gosh! That's the only reason you're gonna watch it.
That's the reason I'm gonna start watching it. Okay, it doesn't matter why we start.
Sure.
All that matters is we're all gonna be watching a show that's good. All right.
I mean, is it? I say that I watched the first 2 seasons and I liked it too. But yeah.
The girl with the eye tattoos or makeup, yeah, the little like fangs.
The elf girl, right? If I'm not mistaken.
She's fucking Scottish. That one.
Yeah.
I follow an artist who's a big fan of that, and most of what she draws is from that. And I look at them like, I don't know what this is, but it's very well drawn. I will give that a like.
Well, I also didn't know that it was like mostly for adults, the show. Due to the art style, I thought it was like a kidsy show.
Well,
then I learned there's curse words and stuff in it, and I'm like, oh, okay. So it's for everybody.
made by the same people as Avatar, so that's the reason why I watched it.
Nice. But does it have the third writer, though? That's the biggest question, because Avatar was good because it had 3 writers. Korra only had 2, and they got rid of the central guy. And if anyone watching is wondering why Korra feels like it's missing something, it's because that guy's not there. And when you watch the behind the scenes for Avatar, he's so important. Like, that guy knows so much shit and understands so much about character development, and he's just gone for all of Korra. That's why Korra feels a bit different. Or you hate it, because some people genuinely hate Korra. So, just depends.
Yeah.
Have they confirmed who's going to be in charge of the new show they're doing about Aang and crew when they're adults?
I thought it was a movie. Is it a whole show? I thought it was an animated movie that they're working on.
Apparently, it's going to be movies, if I'm not mistaken. Let me look this up.
Yeah, I was excited about that until
sense.
I learned, like, if it's not the third writer being there, then I probably don't care, because he's so essential.
It only says they're bringing back the people who worked on the original Avatar, so that could literally mean anything, honestly. So who knows?
Mm-hmm. I think the reason I like Korra anyway is because she's hot. Go ahead. Sorry.
There you go. This is how TrueUnderDawg watches TV shows. Is it good or bad? Who cares? Do we have a waifu? There we go.
Any reason to start watching?
I mean, I recently started getting back into the Fate franchise.
Oh my gosh, bless your
soul.
soul.
That's very waifu driven these days.
I need to start that. What is the start of that?
Are you
series?
sure about
I was
that?
told to watch it too.
Okay,
oh
so
no! Are you sure you want to go down this rabbit hole?
So
there's so many, right?
So
yeah.
Right, so Fate fans have a tendency to overcomplicate things, and because their view is you can either start with the visual novel, which is 100 hours long because it's 3 routes, so about 30 hours each, or you can watch the anime.
Yeah, I'll watch the anime.
Recommend the anime. Yeah, I recommend just the anime for now for virgin Fate fans.
The game has 3 routes, which are Fate, Unlimited Blade Works, and Heaven's Feel. All of them have been adapted into anime in some form.
But it's all the same. Okay.
Yeah, they're all different routes. They play out very differently. It's just the same up to an early point, then it just goes off in complete tangents with different focuses. But I feel like you need to experience all of them to get a complete picture of what's going on, because there is a theme that's taken different directions. But what fans do is they'll say, well, the original anime from like 2006, which was based on the Fate route and takes inspiration from the others as well, is very bad. Therefore, skip that and go straight to Unlimited Blade Works. The problem is that the Fate route, the way the anime was done, it had a very different vibe to it. It had a lot more mystery to it because that's the first route. That's where a lot of the questions and answers are given early on. So you really do want to start with that first anime, just called Fate Stay Night.
Okay.
And it's not ideal, but there are some things that the anime did that were quite good.
Is that the infamous people die if they are killed? Or is that a different one?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, that's
gotta
the
watch
one.
that one for sure.
I don't know what the context for that is because I've only seen it dubbed, so I'm not sure what exactly that line was.
I think he just means like when you die, but like entirely, not just like your person, but like your memory.
If you die in the game, you die in real life.
Which is funny for that character of all people to say, because in that exact anime, he gets almost every episode he gets some sort of serious life-threatening wound. and he still lives to reach the final episode. So
hold that thought, because you know what I hate.
Sorry,
you know what trope that I hate in anime? Even though I love anime, just to get on the record, I think anime, especially today, when like movies are getting increasingly mediocre, and anime still stays like pretty good, if not like great. I hate this trope where anime characters gets hits. Huh? No. Why would I hate that? No, there's I hate the trope in anime where a character, it doesn't matter if it's a main character or a side character gets punched anywhere on their body and then coughs up blood. And that's seen as like it's just a hit. I'm like, writers, just so we're clear, if you get hit so hard that you're coughing up blood, that usually means your stomach is bleeding. And just so you know, that's a very easily fatal injury. So if all you're trying to show is that they've been damaged when like they're still in the fight, don't do that unless they're punched in the face, and they can spit out blood because it implies like you broke a tooth or something, or like cut their cheek or whatever. But if you punch them in the stomach or chest and they start coughing up blood, it means they're bleeding internally and they're about to fucking die. So can we stop with that trope? Also, on a similar vein, which is also not true, punching somebody in the stomach really hard and they black out. That's a weird one too.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up.
Which apparently is theoretically possible, but it's so like ridiculously just in theory that it's like never gonna happen. Like you're most likely just gonna fucking hurt them or knock the wind out of them, or you'll kill them if you punch them that hard because you're making them black out somehow with a gut punch. But yeah, there's one more thing about that I was thinking.
There's a great YouTuber who makes like a bunch of like really funny like anime like parody skits, and he literally made one about the coughing blood one too, where it's like the two people are like super fighting.
Oh, that guy, yeah.
And then like some guy starts coughing blood. It's like, bro, you need to go to a hospital. What the hell?
Is this the guy who did the skit about a character realizing he's a side character?
I think he does a lot. But I remember that was really great.
And to give anime some credit, like there's also an even bigger trope in all of cinema and shows that writers have been abusing forever, which is also not true, which is the I knock you out and now you're unconscious until we reach the next scene. Whereas in reality, you wake up within like the next 10 seconds usually of being knocked out because otherwise you fucking die. Or at the very least during like the next minute. The only way you would stay unconscious is if somebody like gave you a drug or something. Or, chloroform or something. Otherwise, if someone punches you in the face, you're like, like 20 seconds later. Like you don't just stay out. that would kill you. But yeah, so that's a big trope too. Is like I knock you out, then we're in a new location. It's a great way to like transition scenes. I get it, but it's also a huge trope.
You were mentioning about Fate.
Yeah, so you watch that anime first. Despite what people say, it's honestly not that bad as a starting point, and I feel like it's the better introduction to the world of Fate than the other stuff. Then you watch Unlimited Blade Works, which is one of the newer ones by Ufotable, which is like where like the animation quality gets really high because they have all these computer generated effects and such.
Shit.
And it just looks
is
great.
That the movie or is that the season? Because I remember there's one of them is a movie.
I'm glad you brought that up. So, because the original animation studio did do a movie version of Unlimited Blade Works, but as you can imagine, adapting a 30+ hour visual novel into like an hour and 30-40 minutes, no. So watch the show.
M.
It's
Night
like
Shyamalan did it with Avatar. He cranked an entire season into one movie, and it was the best thing ever made. People tell me.
It's very successful. So good. Yeah. It's like no one can shut up about it. Yeah.
The Mortal Kombat movie shoved like, a bunch of stuff into like one thing. I mean, MK9 was pretty much like everything, including Armageddon. Like they shoved that all in there, and it worked out.
But Battle of the Realms put like 6 games into one movie. I think that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Real quick before, just to clarify, this series we're talking about, that is the one where characters fight in like a tournament, but they're historical figures. Or am I wrong about that?
Yes.
Or is that different?
Yes.
That is that
it's
one.
Not, it's not quite. It's more of a battle royale than.
But it is with historical figures. It is historical figures.
Some of them are Rule 63, right, or whatever. Where like they're switched.
Yeah. If you're wondering about that, yes.
Only one. That's the wife who I'm thinking of. Who's like everywhere. That blonde character.
Yeah. Yes, Saber. Everyone else is just normal, but it's just because Saber became so popular.
Snake in the other.
Even though ironically her roost is the least popular of the three, she's still the most popular character. So they keep reusing that design. So there's like 8 different versions of her currently, and then loads of other characters are also gender swapped.
Gotcha.
And they do all kinds of weird shit. Like some of it makes sense. Like here's a character who is like the child of the figure that Saber is based on. Therefore, that character is also gender swapped. Okay, fair enough. But then here we have Jack the Ripper, who is a girl, but it's not actually Jack the Ripper. It's like aborted fetuses of prostitutes of Whitechapel manifesting as a figure. Why? Why,
no,
Fates?
I like that.
Why are you
no,
doing
I'm
this
down.
to me?
I'm down for that freaky, weird shit that can only exist in anime. That's why anime is cool.
Of course,
it does shit that no American would touch. No American would have the balls to be like, yeah, so this character, by the way, is like the culmination of aborted fetuses, and it makes a... Nope, stop you right there. Too political. Abortion's a hot topic right now in the country. Can't touch it. So it's cool that they're actually doing that. This is cool to me. Go ahead.
Well, I think you're like Carnival Phantasm then, because Carnival Phantasm is like a dumb comedy... It's a dumb comedy crossover thing between Fate and another series by the same creator. And one of the episodes is about one of the characters who has an abusive home life.
Oh, shit.
And so another character is trying to protect her from her abusive sibling. And it gets to the point where they have a scene where, true to the source material, her foster brother tries to force himself on her.
Oh, Jesus.
And what happens after that is played for comedy.
Oh.
I don't know what tone they were going for with this. It's really weird.
That's the one downside of anime too. Not just that, but anime it has this weird middle ground where it'll have a show that's clearly made for adults because it's all adult themes. It's got tons of gore or sexual themes, that kind of stuff. But then it also has weird elements that only kids would like in there, or like they'll over-explain something as if their audience is stupid, even though it's clearly for adults. And that's where I'm like, I don't quite know who this is for, and that's only some shows.
Shonen.
But like it happens often enough that it throws me off. Like I watched that Terraformars show, and I won't spend any time on it because overall, pretty annoying experience. But it's clearly a show for adults because there's tons of gore and death and even nudity, right? But then they'll have like scenes where they over-explain something, and I'm like, who is this for? You already explained this. Like I don't need to hear it 3 times in the same episode. It's clearly a show for adults, unless it's not. Which sometimes it's not. Like there can be a really gory show that's actually meant for kids, which is kind of weird. Like anime is the only genre I can think of where they do that. Well, they'll take heavily adult themes, but like market it towards kids, which I'm not even against. But it gets weird, like you were saying, that made for jokes thing. Like why would that be this weird tonal shift that makes no sense? It just happens sometimes. Now speaking of switching characters, like swapping the sexes, have y'all heard about the Street Fighter 6 character that like everyone loves? But she's just like a different version of the same character. They just like changed the genitalia, or no?
What? This I'm not too sure.
So, before Street Fighter 6 even revealed the leak of all the different character art, even before that, there was a leak of the actual characters, but they didn't have names yet. They weren't finalized.
Yeah.
Well, even before that, even before the artwork, even before that.
Oh wow, okay.
All they had were names. Somebody leaked just the names, but some characters they didn't have names for. So one of them, he just named her Female Abel, because that's like what she is. And then the artwork came out, and you can find her. You're like, yep, there she is. That's Abel, but it's a woman, and they gave her pink hair. But that's Female Abel, and it's the French chick with like the Olympic medal on her neck, and she has like the garb on. I think her name is. Everyone thought it was Mimi, but it's Mon Mon or like Mon instead. I think her name is Mon.
Wasn't Abel going to be a? Abel was going to be a woman originally, wasn't he? Like that was one of the concept arts.
Maybe definitely could be, but I guess they didn't do that because Cammy is already that. Believe it or not, like I didn't know that until recently.
Fair
but
enough.
Cammy is like made from Bison's DNA, so like all the dolls are, or like all the clone characters are. Like Abel is also from Bison's DNA. So if he was a chick, it would just be Cammy 2.0. It wouldn't make any sense. So not all the dolls, by the way. Before someone corrects me on that, yes, I know most of the dolls are enslaved, brainwashed people, but Cammy specifically is a clone of Bison to an extent. And Abel is too, so that would mean that Abel would just be Cammy if it was a chick. But that's why I find it funny how Female Abel, because she's not Abel in the sense of lore, but she's Abel gameplay, because she's going to have the mix of jujutsu and striking. So that's why she's Female Abel. I just find that funny. Sometimes flipping the character's gender like totally works, or sex. But mainly if that character is not popular. If they just replaced Ryu and said, here's Sakura, no Ryu in this game though, people be pissed.
Okay, Snake, continue your Fate Stay Night.
Yeah. So
No, Snake never gets the finish. No, go ahead. Sorry.
So you watched that original Fate Stay Night anime. Then you watch the Unlimited Blade Works show, which is about another 26 episodes. Not the movie, because the movie just condenses it too much.
I have a question I would like to ask.
If you watch
is the movie and the show like the story is the same, but are the animation like the same, or is it like completely different, even the animation?
No, the film was done by a different studio
then that's very
years
different.
earlier. Yeah, it's not like one of those recap movies, although they probably did one of those based on the original anime. But yeah, you watch the show because it gets through the entire story. It's not just a Cliff Notes version of the plot. It's not like rushing from plot beat to plot beat. I would compare the original movie to like Resident Evil 3 remake.
Oh,
that's early hours where it feels like it's just going, okay, Brad. We need to have Brad. We need to have that guy in the warehouse. We need to have this and this. Get through all those quickly. It's like that.
I completely get that now. Yeah.
So watch the show instead. Then you watch Heaven's Feel, which is by the same studio that did Unlimited Blade Works, but it's 3 movies, so it's about 6 hours
That's
total.
a movie. So it's 3 movies.
I didn't personally like those ones. I thought they were just kind of dour and depressing. But you do get certain... You learn more about the backstory stuff there. And then after that, you have Fate Zero, which is a prequel. That was originally a light novel series by the guy who made Psycho-Pass.
Oh, nice.
And stuff like that.
Here's a fun fact, by the way. Out of everything Fate-related, that is the only thing I saw, which was Fate Zero.
It is good.
It is really good.
Does it require watching the original because it's a prequel?
I don't want to get into Fate, but Fate Zero is very good, yeah.
Well, I mean that's one of the areas where Fate fans can kind of overcomplicate things. Like, don't watch Zero first because it spoils stuff from Stay Night, but then because the events that we see in Zero are referenced in Stay Night spoils Fate Zero. So
the chicken or the egg?
It's better to just watch it in order the way it was intended.
Yeah,
because I think you'll appreciate it more
Sounds
that
like
way.
Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, because I'm not too sure if I'll ever get into Fate, but my friend was like, you need to watch Fate Zero at least. So I watched that because, yeah.
You cannot do Kingdom Hearts chronologically. You cannot start at Birth by Sleep. That is not the way that works.
You can't unless you just are lazy like me and you watch somebody explain it in a lore video.
Yeah,
That's the only way you could possibly do that. To save anybody time, everybody's Sora. Even some planets are Sora.
Wow.
Everyone's Sora. Just
oh my gosh,
Sora everywhere.
That's big spoilers there, buddy.
I guess. I mean, they look just fucking like him.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Right, so you watch Fate Stay Night, Unlimited Blade Works, then Heaven's Feel, then Fate Zero. That's the core story. Zero is actually one of the reasons why I think that you shouldn't skip the first anime, because I feel like Zero works better as a prequel to the Fate route than the others because it is largely the same characters there.
Yeah.
So major characters who were in Zero only really get focused in the original Fate route. So it's better to watch all that. So once you go through those 4 things, that's the core Fate experience. Everything after that is just extra. And when I say extra, I don't mean Fate extra. That is a thing, Fate extra. That's not what I'm talking about.
Okay, that's funny. There's another thing called a Fate extra.
I tried getting into Fate extra because there was like a Muso style game they made, but I didn't really like the gameplay, and that's the one that has the red version of Saber, who is not Saber. That's Emperor Nero.
Emperor or Empress?
No, Emperor.
But is it a guy?
That's one of the things to do with the that's what they do with the gender swaps. Is that they'll keep the original
That's
title
cute,
like that. So, like, Emperor Nero just looks like the main Saber, but in red and with bigger boobs.
Nice.
And apparently the entire design was they wanted people to think it was the same character, then they pull the rug out from under you. It's like, okay, that's funny, but then once you get to the character continue to exist in this franchise, that means nothing anymore. It's just a weird thing where a character just looks like another character just for no reason. And the game's like, oh yeah, your player avatar is absolutely in love with this woman because of the events of the prequel game that you never played. And I'm like, I don't like the character though. I don't like this. And it's about it's like a digital world on the moon or some bullshit. Ooh. I'm like, I can't.
Nier Automata.
That's where Fate.
Okay.
Basically, that's where Fate gets to be too much. I'm currently watching Fate Apocrypha, which is an alternate universe where it's 2 teams of 7.
Yeah.
For the legendary heroes fighting each other, and that's an interesting idea so far. But that's one of those that highlights the funny stuff, because like one of the characters is Mordred, the son of King Arthur, And when you see flashbacks to Mordred's past in England, everyone just has American accents.
Yes. Which is historically accurate. What's funny about that, though, you mentioned the main difference visually is that, like, the Emperor has, like, bigger boobs. And all I could think of, like, is if she was the same character, it would be hilarious for her to, like, be changing into, like, Saber and being like, just, like, sucks in her gut and, like, her boobs get smaller. Or, like, she, like, sucks them in somewhere. Or the opposite. Like, she's Saber and goes to be the Emperor and just, like, takes off some sort of, like, mini bra. And her boobs go boom. And they're just, like, bigger. And she's like, oh, God, finally. Now to be the Emperor.
right in anime right here.
I'm doing what they call plot.
A simplified version is you got the main 4, and then whatever you want to watch is just up to you. It's basically all just like side stories or...
Meanwhile, I'm just thinking all I'm going to do is watch Fate Stay Night, and if it's good, I'll keep watching. If it's not, I will drop everything and just resume my...
There you go.
If you want to watch the Magical Girl spin-off, you can watch that if you want, which is actually one of the longest running spin-offs in the series because it's like three seasons.
Japan, you continue to disappoint me with the shows you choose to keep going and the shows you choose to cancel. You continue to disappoint me.
I have heard that there actually are some bits in that Magical Girl spin-off that are actually really good. There's apparently a spin-off episode that does relate to the main series because it has those characters, and it's like, here's a prequel episode about those characters or something, and it's apparently really good. And I'm like, but why is it part of the Magical Girl spin-off?
Listen, I'm not afraid to admit it. I finished Lucky Star. If I can finish Lucky Star, I could probably finish the Magic Girl like spin-off of Fate. It'd probably be fine. I like my little wholesome slice of life bullshit.
You have a childhood, I see.
The only thing I can't stand is that fucking intro. That fucking intro of Lucky Star is fucking pain. But the show's actually good. Have y'all seen the Out of Touch Thursdays with Lucky Star? We used to play that every day at my school when it was Thursday in the game design class. The student would just turn it on. Dun, 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 you're out of touch. They're dancing to it. I'm like, this could have been the intro, and it would have been so much better. But yeah, sorry.
Well, the reason for Lucky Star intro being like that is because this was right off the back of the Haruhi Suzumiya intro, which had its own dance, and so they're trying to replicate that success.
Okay,
Most of the voice cast in Lucky Star is just from the Haruhi. It's just the same actors. Even the dub did the same thing using the equivalent actors. Where they
what makes Haruhi Suzumiya great though is that like the one dude's totally not into it. He just like has to do it, and that's why it was funny to me.
Yeah.
I don't think I watched the intro for that either. I think I skipped it. But I skip most anime intros. I know it's like hedonistic, but it's because they have spoilers a lot of the time. So I just skip intros now.
Yeah. I will usually wait until like the last episode, even though, which is a shame because a lot of final episodes won't show the intro because they got too much stuff to wrap up, so they'll just get right into it.
I always watch the intro once and then just watch the whole anime, and on the last episode, I'll be like, okay, just to remember this show, I'm gonna watch it again. Oh, they don't have the intro. Because they want to be more dramatic, I guess.
For example, Dr. Stone, which unfortunately I finally caught up with Dr. Stone with the anime, and now it's done, and I'm sad. I have to read the manga now if I want to keep going. But
I thought you got to the ending. Never mind. I shouldn't laugh like that.
No, just the ending of the. Oh, great! Does it have some terrible ending like fucking? Keep
going. No. Don't worry.
So basically, I haven't finished that one either. I never read ahead, except the only anime I'm ahead on is Record of Ragnarok because that fucking manga slaps and it's got some of the best art I've ever seen. But yeah, so Dr. Stone has a big reveal in one of the episodes that is completely ruined and spoiled by the intro if you watch the anime intro, because it shows you who's on whose side, like in the intro. And some of the allegiances are like twists in the show. So if like you watch the intro, you already know who's on whose side, and it completely spoils it. And I'm like, damn, why they gotta do that? Some intros don't do that. Like Mirai Nikki or Future Diary has a pretty damn good intro that doesn't spoil much of anything, which I like.
Yeah. It just shows the characters, and that's about it.
Elfin Lied's intro doesn't spoil anything. Like there's some intros that
I think if you want to talk about intro that doesn't spoil things that's like amazing, I think Chainsaw Man is a pretty good one. That intro.
I definitely watched the Chainsaw Man one, yeah.
So the interesting thing, because I have two friends who are like insanely into Chainsaw Man, and they watched the intro and was like, "This is really awesome." And just so you know, by the way, this is like 90% of this whole entire intro is just made up. It's just let's do references to movies just because why not? So it's like nothing is basically spoiled in the intro. And it's just a freaking awesome like intro.
Okay, so what shocked me is that like Chainsaw Man has a lot of diehard women who love it. Like they're just like diehard fans and they're ladies, which is interesting because like not to spoil anything, but one of the main characters' entire goal is just to grope tits or like kiss women or like have sex. It's like his like main goal.
I want to touch boobs.
You would think they'd be like, oh, what a degenerate. But, like, you understand why he feels that way because he's never been around anybody. Like, he didn't even have a friend his whole life. So he's just, like, starved for any sort of social interaction. But, like, still, it's funny how that's his main goal. And
It's
I've
very
met so many
interesting.
women who are like, I can't wait to watch the anime. The manga is so good. And I'm like, interesting. Since his, like, main goal is just, like, I want to fuck.
Yes.
But, yeah.
Have you seen like the meme where it's like you see the main character being like, I want to touch boobs, and on top it says like flirting, and the next one you see, do you guys know Mineta from like My Hero Academia, the purple grape head guy who was really perverted? I want to touch boob, harassment.
I love how everybody thought that he was, or maybe he is, but like I don't know for sure. I think he just meant that he like cares for Deku. But there's that infamous scene in the manga where he like admits his feelings to Deku, and it pissed people off because he was like their representation. And I'm like, motherfucker, a character can exist without having to represent an entire group of people. Like he's just him. Like Mineta's just Mineta. I would not be shocked if he wanted to fuck anything with legs, but I don't think that's what they meant. I'm pretty sure they just meant that like he cares very deeply for Deku because they're like really close friends and shit. But yeah.
But at the same time, the translation is very weird to the point where it like there's a higher chance of the implication of love, but at the same time, Yankee said care. But it was so funny when the whole entire situation happened.
You can love somebody without wanting to fuck them. Like that's a totally possible thing.
Sure, of course.
I love my best friend. I don't want to fuck him. Anyway, but also...
I just think that quote out of context would be so funny.
It'd be even funnier if my best friend was a lady, because then it would mean that I'm fighting my sexual urges. Anyway, but, so... My Hero Academia is also the... he got another infamous thing from My Hero Academia is that very recently, not anymore, but still pretty recent, they showed what Invisible Girl looks like.
I've heard about that,
everyone got pissed off because she has like caution tape going over her tits and vajayjay, like she's barely covered up, and she's like ooh ooh, and everyone was like pissed, like oh my god, she's like 15, how dare you do that? And I'm just, meanwhile me's just like, oh, so that's how her face looks. It's cool, just know how she looks. That was my first thought seeing the image. I was like, huh, oddly, I didn't even notice the sex right away. I just noticed like, oh, that's how she looks, cute, like she's adorable.
I think the best like not safe for work art from that franchise is of her, because it's literally just draw gloves and that's it. It's like she is technically naked, but you can't see anything, gloves. And it's like it's so good for shit posting. I love it. It's so fucking stupid.
Somebody even did like a body pillow of like the front where she's like happy, and the back when she's like oh no, but it's just the gloves. So the front and back don't show anything. It was so funny.
So a long time ago, there's this one YouTuber, I think it's called like Mother's Basement or something, and he like analyzes anime intros, and every time he analyzes the My Hero intros, he's always just like, and right here you can see Best Girl just standing right there posing. It's really amazing. And over here too, Best Girl shows up again, just randomly throughout like the analysis, like right there you can see it, stuff like that.
Unfortunately, I don't think they've ever made. Oh wait, they did make the joke. Never mind, I'm wrong. They made the joke where she was like invisible, and she had to like sneak up on Snipe. And she's like, I have to get naked for this, and just takes the gloves off. And she's like, oh, it's so embarrassing, which I thought was funny. Because like, maybe she is wearing a suit. I don't know if it's like canon that she is actually wearing something, but it's also invisible like her. Maybe it is, because I know that fucking Lemillion, the reason his suit can go through things like him is because it's also made of his hair or some weird shit like that.
I would
somebody
assume
said. I think it's actually mentioned in the manga. They didn't give a shit for the anime because honestly, I guess you don't have to. But they show in the anime that like regular clothes fall off of him, even like his My Hero uniform like falls off of him.
Yeah.
But when he's wearing the superhero outfit, it never falls off. So, from what I understand, it's canonically made from his DNA somehow. So it's like his skin, but it's like made from him. That's why it doesn't like fall off of him. So I assume that the Invisible Girl theoretically could be actually wearing like a onesie, and we just don't know it because it's made from like her skin or something. If not, man, I would feel so exposed 24/7. But I guess she is invisible, so she doesn't give a shit. But
I mean, to be fair, if you live your whole life like that, maybe it doesn't. It's a different perspective. You never know.
Also, even I appreciate it for the joke, even though it makes no sense. I love when they were doing rock paper scissors that they gave her like the popsicle sticks with the signs on them, and each sign had a different outcome for the hand. And they're like 1, 2, and she put the one down that she wanted to do. Have y'all seen that or not? That little joke where they were doing rock paper scissors.
I don't remember that, but okay.
Yeah, it was really cute. But my first thought was like, wait. She owns gloves. Just wear a glove, and then you can do the. But again, the artist knew that and just did it for the funny. Like, it's funnier to have the three options. It's like when they count to 3, she just picks one. And that's how she does rock paper scissors, is with the little signs, which I thought was cute.
The one thing I know about the Invisible Girl's face reveal is apparently the art is literally just the artist drawing herself. Like, I think that's kind of interesting. Like, okay.
Oh, is it?
Drew yourself in it. That's what I've heard.
I didn't know that. But I didn't know the artist actually drew it. Like, it's official art. It's not like some perv did like Rule 34 art. That's the actual cover
official. That's
of the manga.
The interesting thing about it. Yeah.
And I think it's just meant to be funny. I think it is sexual, of course, because it's like someone naked. But I think it's meant to be funny because she's used to being naked all the time. So now that you can see her, she's like unfazed by it. But like the tape is there to cover her up for everyone else because they're like, "Oh my God, you're naked," and she's like, "Yeah, I always am." I think that's meant to be the joke. Is that like she's used to being naked. Yeah. But now that they can see her, it's like different for everybody else. No one ever mentions that she could theoretically hide things by eating them. Like if they had to hide something, like a key, she could just eat it and it would be gone forever. Because like anything inside of her is invisible. I don't think she's see-through. Yeah, that too. Because I don't think she's see-through. I think she's just invisible. Because if she is see-through, that would make it impossible to eat with her at lunch. Because you just like see her chewing and like swallowing the food, and we don't see that. So I think she is actually like. Anything inside of her disappears, which is great.
I think she has like a pack, then she can hide things in, and that's why one part like she does pull out a weapon and stuff like that.
Oh, what? Yeah. No, that's great. She has the literal invisible pouch, which is like a meme in animation, like the invisible sack or whatever. I forgot the exact term for it, but it's like called the invisible satchel or something.
Doraemon.
Oh, you mean like back in the game when the character will hold an item and they'll just go.
Yes.
And it's gone. It's like, oh, they need to get an item out. It's like, where is that literally inside your ass?
That's what everyone says,
What is happening?
Yeah. The best example is Bugs Bunny. Like Looney Tunes, they'd pull out like giant mallets, which had no way of being anywhere on their person because you would see it, and it was called the invisible satchel. And Deadpool does it as a joke because Deadpool breaks the fourth wall. He'll do the same ass thing. Like he'll just pull out like a giant mallet that was nowhere on him, and he just has it. So it's cute that Invisible Girl has a literal invisible satchel. And then you have Momo, whose entire body is an invisible satchel because she can just summon shit.
That is true, yeah in a way. So I guess I'll kind of get back to what I was saying. I was just gonna. Oh, geez, I can't remember this. We were talking about the openings.
Sorry.
And like we were, and I told you like, oh, Chainsaw Man doesn't really spoil it too. I think one of the best things about the anime of Chainsaw Man is somehow, like I don't know how crazy they are, but every single episode they have a different ending. Like, how insane can you be to have a different ending with different animated people with a different famous singer singing on every single episode? Oh, you didn't? Yeah, it's crazy. Like, every time the episode ends, it's just okay, cool, new music video. I can check it out.
I didn't know that. No, I'm all caught up on Chainsaw Man, but I just wouldn't watch the credits because I'm an asshole.
Oh, wow! I recommend you to go check them out then, because every single one of them is different, and it's like really well animated.
The only time I watched the credits was like some anime. It's very rare, but some anime will just keep the plot going through the credits. They'll just play the music on top of it, and they'll still show the text. But if you were to skip the credits, you'd actually be missing the end of the episode. Some shows do that, like almost for every episode. So like you have to watch the credits, which on the one hand is pretty clever because you're forced to watch it. But on the other hand, it's kind of stupid because you're probably not going to read the credits because you're just watching the animation that's happening on screen.
Yeah. Most of the time when that happens in the anime, it's like, oh, the next episode is going to be very serious. We're ending off on a very important cliffhanger or something like that.
And now that you mention that, I mentioned that one show that I was watching, the Gundam show, that's like great because it's not like Gundam. They recently had one of the darkest endings I've seen in all of anime, not just for like that show. I was impressed at how like dark it was for a show that otherwise is pretty lighthearted. But then they made one of the biggest mistakes you can make as like a studio. They kept the same credits they always have, which is pretty lighthearted. So it went from like one of the darkest, saddest endings ever, and then it's da 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 da, and I was like, no! All you had to do is just do no sound, just the credits, and it would have been great.
I had the exact same experience in the first season of what is Made in Abyss? Do you know that show, Made in Abyss?
I've heard of it, yeah.
Yeah, something very similar happens. It's just like the most horrifying, gruesome, like fucked up shit happens on my screen, and it just ends with like the most. Because that show is like the art style is very cutesy, despite it being a very like heavily dark show. So it's like, credits, la 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 la. I'm just like, I'm like mentally scarred, and I'm looking at these really cutesy credits. Yeah,
and that only works if it's meant to do that. But I think they just forget to change the credits, and you're like, no, for this one episode, you just had to change it, or you had to just have no song. Because Family Guy once did that. They had a really dark ending for an episode. Family Guy of all things, and I usually roast Family Guy for being trash, but Family Guy had an ending that was really dark, and really real. It talked about suicide and stuff. And then so for the ending, it still had the credits, but it just didn't play any music. It was just a muted credits, and it worked. I was like, damn, nice.
Is that the Brian and Stewie bank episode where they get stuck in the bank? Yeah, okay, that's the...
Where the entire point was to prove that they can write a story without having cutaways. I'm pretty sure was the whole point of that episode.
I think
we can do it. Yeah. And it wasn't a bad episode, but it wasn't great either because I hated how Brian slowly became this, like, obvious outlet for the writer himself because he, like, is Brian. I missed when he was just, like, the dog that made fun of humans for being stupid. That was always funny because he's a dog, and he still understands the situation better than the humans. But then he became, like, a preachy asshole who's like, well, marijuana shouldn't be illegal. And it's like, yeah, I agree, but what the fuck? Like, what made you funny is that you were, like, condescending about it. You weren't, like, fighting for justice. You're just like, you could have solved that problem if you just made it legal. And that should have been his only line. But no, he has, like, a whole episode about him, like, preaching to Peter why hemp is so important and stuff. And I'm like, dude, calm down. It's funny when he's just reserved and makes fun of people. That should be his whole job. But then again, Meg digressed the opposite way. Meg went from an actual character to just, oh, she's ugly. That's, like, her entire character.
That's her little joke, yep. Running with that joke.
Except for that one episode where, like, they finally addressed it, but then, like, they went too hard with it, and it wasn't even, like, interesting, because that's just me, though.
I'm not really caught up with Family Guy. All I know is the clips, which are...
the Family Guy
all
lore.
I see.
There's an entire episode where Meg rips into, like, her whole family and explains why they're all bad people, which she's not wrong, but the problem is, like, she does bad stuff, too, throughout the series, so it's kind of, like, weird. Like, they can point the finger back at her. Same with Quagmire. There's an episode where Quagmire, like, roasts Brian, which makes sense lore-wise, but doesn't make sense for Quagmire to ever give a shit about or ever do, because Quagmire knows that he's a piece of shit, too.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Not just because he's a sex hound, but because he's, like, a literal, if he could, rapist. Like, if Quagmire could,
for sure.
he would rape somebody.
That's
but for that one episode, he's like, yeah, Brian, like, I'm a sex hound, but, like, at least I don't, like, try to bang my best friend's wife. And I'm like, you would, though. You have tried. There's episodes where you've tried, and you just weren't able to. How do we forget this? Maybe I'm the only person on this planet with a fucking memory. Even for things I don't like. I'm sure Snake feels that way. When he's like, oh, you fucked up the lore of Mortal Kombat again. How'd you forget that blank is actually blank? You can't even get Scorpion's family's name right, god damn it.
That's true, yeah.
I mean, but it's like someone had this post, I think it was on Twitter, saying about how, like, taking the piss out of people who say stuff like shows from the 90s were so much better, like trying to take the piss out of like right wing people, and so like they show like show from the 90s, and here's a shot of Peter and his friends from Family Guy, and it's like saying Irish immigrant, guy in wheelchair, black guy.
I remember seeing that. Yeah.
Guy with two mothers because like his father came out as trans, and I'm like, yeah, those things happened in the 2010s. Like Peter had Irish heritage.
Yeah.
His father being Irish was not established until like 2011, and I think it was a year after that Quagmire and the trans thing episode came out. So only two of those things applied in the 90s. Your point is invalid. Learn the Family Guy law, you fucking coward.
Not to mention X-Men was like there are plenty of shows from the 90s and before that were like quote-unquote progressive without being preachy, and they didn't feel like they were pandering. It just like naturally made sense, and some of them were like just great in an ironic sense, like how like Nightcrawler, who looks like a literal demon in X-Men, is a devout Christian and just a generally wholesome good person, but he looks like a demon, like 110%.
That is pretty cute,
yeah, and you understand why if like when you learn more about him and stuff, like why it came to be that way. But it's interesting. They didn't make him Christian just out of some, like, oh, he's got to be Christian to reflect the modern day. No, it's meant to be like this, like, don't judge a book by its cover kind of thing. Which is the same thing with Quagmire, I guess, revealing that his parents are, like, in the situation they're in. But, like, I don't know. If I was a part of a group like that, and a character in Family Guy was meant to be, like, my representation, I'd think it was insulting on, that's how I would feel. I'm not saying they can't do it, but I'm saying, like, that's not the show to do that, because like it's usually going to be a negative representation of like the character, or you would think it was like an insult, kind of like South Park, like they're always making fun of stuff, so like, you can't really trust it. Yeah. The only people who don't get made fun of most of the time in South Park is like the most common normal person, because that's the joke. Like they're reacting to everything around them like, what the fuck? What's going on? And they're usually the ones that aren't made fun of. But even then, they can be made fun of sometimes. Like I think Stan was made fun of one time for his very mundane reaction to everything. Oh, and also Clyde. Yeah. I think Clyde also, like the side character. No, Craig. Yeah, Craig didn't want to be involved in any of their shenanigans, and he kept getting dragged into it. That was funny.
So let me ask this, just to make sure.
No.
We are all. Oh, okay, fine.
No, go ahead.
What I was gonna say was, we are all recording, right?
I mean, I am.
Yeah.
Okay, I
Yeah.
just want to make sure because we've been going on for like an hour and 15 minutes of talking.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine?
Oh, fuck! I just totally
I'm
forgot.
really
Like,
curious
oh, no.
what exactly is in the footage and stuff like that of this whole entire. I'm really not sure exactly. I started recording like very early on, so I'm not too sure what exactly is.
Yeah, I know you fucking do that because you want to blackmail us with like stuff when we're not thinking we're recording and you want to use it against us. I know that's why you do that, you little shit. You're not sneaky.
Hey, just so you know, TrueUnderDawg, just so you know, that footage was provided by you, not me. I don't record you guys. You did that. So thanks to you, TrueUnderDawg, okay? I just want to make you know that. So joke's on you.
That does sound like me. I'm a very self-sabotaging person. Definitely sounds like me.
But yeah,
Why
so
do I have crippling insomnia? It's not like I stay up until like the crack of midnight by just watching videos and then I drink. Why do I never get sleep? I don't stuff myself with caffeine. Why this insomnia?
He says that as he's drinking his big cup of coffee. He just got. Well, it's morning.
It's not
so
coffee, actually. It's just liquid shit. But thanks for assuming.
Well,
I like to
thought
start
you
my
went to
morning
get coffee
with a cup of liquid shit. No, you're right, it is coffee. It's definitely coffee. Yeah.
Well,
but that's the
coffee could
joke.
be
You're
known as liquid
explaining the
shit.
joke.
Oh, I'm
Don't
sorry.
explain the joke.
Speaking of liquid shit,
Speaking of what?
let me tell you one of the funniest things I've ever seen in a game. Right? Have either of you two ever played a game called Tenchu Z?
I feel like I've heard that. Let me look this up.
Tenchu. It's one of those ninja stealth games that From Software used to make.
Tenchu.
From Software made
didn't start
games
the series,
before
but they
Dark
made a few of
Souls?
them.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh yeah. They made some of the weirdest stuff from what I've heard. Tenchu Z. Oh, in that case, I know this game. I'm pretty sure.
I played the prequel, Tenchu X.
Wait, do I know this game? Maybe then I know it's Tenchu X.
It was actually the first game I played on my Let's Play channel
cool.
back in the day, back in like 2014.
I thought I made up Tenchu X.
But
yeah, good. Okay.
One of the things in that game is every enemy in that game, even the bosses, none of them can swim. So if you knock them in water, they just drown. So if you and every level with a boss fight in it has water you can go to and knock them off into the water. And they'll just, like the first boss fight is on a boat. You can knock him into the water and you win instantly.
Nice.
But what's really funny is that there are these traps you can find, trap doors that can lead into bottomless pits or into a cesspit, i.e. a pit full of liquid shit.
Oh wow.
And if you fall in, the smell sticks to you, and enemies can go, and they can find you from the smell. But if you knock an enemy into the liquid shit, they drown in it instantly.
Nice.
That's interesting.
They're just
That reminds me of actually not a spoiler, but in Ragnarok, the new God of War game.
Okay.
If you hit
Are you playing it?
Yeah, it's a long ass
nice.
fucking game.
It's really big, yeah.
I'm pretty much doing none of the side missions, and I'm still like 16 hours in, and I can tell I'm not near the end. But basically, the enemies, they have to leap across to you sometimes, and you can just hit them out of their jump animation, and they go, oh, and they just lose all momentum and fall straight down. And if it's high enough up, the game just says, screw it, they're dead. So it's really funny to do that to enemies that are supposed to be a challenge. Like, you just cross a gap, and they jump to follow you. You just, like, throw the axe, and they go, and they just, like, fall to their death. It's super funny. And on a similar note, real quick, before you move on. That too. But I was thinking of Soul Calibur always cracked up with that. Because in Soul Calibur, you can ring people out, right? And it makes sense on a lot of stages because you're high up. So even if there's water down below, the idea is like, oh, well, they can't get back to the stage. So like you've rung them out and they can't fight anymore. But one of the stages, which is visually my favorite, is like this snowy area. And there's just like a beach. Like there's barely like a little 1-inch drop. And then there's the water. If you knock them into that, it's still like KO, which makes me laugh because they just go, and they just fall into the water and they're just gone. And I'm like, but they could just climb back out. Like the ledge is right there, but it goes KO. And it's the funniest thing to witness. You barely tap them, they go bloop, and just fall in the water and they're dead. But yeah.
Do they just go like straight down into the water?
Well, so it's the newest one, which has like beautiful graphics fidelity. So the water ripples and stuff like it should, but they don't even like splash in place and drown. They just go bloop into the water and they're just gone. And you're like, oh, I win.
Sounds like FromSoft logic too, where it's like you're walking on the water and it's like, okay, this is very shallow water. It should be.
Dude, that stuff traumatized me, man. Like when I was fighting the freaking Hydra, and if you walk too close to it, you just fall into the abyss.
Yes.
And I'm like, why?
You have to fight him like far range, like bow and arrow and stuff.
The thing said about God of War actually reminds me of it's like the opposite actually in Resident Evil 4 and 5 when an enemy's climbing through a window. If you get a headshot and the head explodes, they'll finish the climb through window animation and then die.
That's amazing.
Like that.
Or in some games,
funny.
like I think it was Onimusha, which I never even finished because it was too hard for me as a kid. But no, it was Shinobi. It was called Shinobi actually. Yeah, which just means ninja, I think. But
yeah.
Or it's like a different kind of ninja, because I think Sasuke also means ninja. But basically, one of the first bosses in the game, you can easily get him to fall off the building, but it doesn't kill him. He just goes, "It's not over yet," and teleports back to the rooftop with you. And I'm like, ah, shit. I wanted to cheese him. But you can't. He will get back up there and just keep fighting you. Oh, well.
I think Shinobi's the series where in one of the games you fight Spider-Man, Batman, and Godzilla.
What?
And like all of them run licensed.
Oh, wow, that sounds incredible.
But I think
Yeah,
they replaced him in later versions with like a man bat and some kind of lizard. But I think even to this day, I think even current releases still keep Spider-Man in.
Nice.
Like I think they just like negotiated a deal with Marvel to just have Spider-Man.
That's awesome. That reminds me of how the writer of Spectacular Spider-Man got fired for his show got canceled for no reason. It was like the best like Spider-Man show ever, and it got canceled. And then he made the new hit show Young Justice, which is still ongoing.
Oh hell yeah!
And so as a middle finger, there's a brand new DC character that shows up in one episode just for that episode. No, he comes back like way later, but just for that one episode at first. And he's clearly a direct parody of Spider-Man. Yeah, even the same voice actor from the show and everything.
Which,
and it's just great.
Is it first season or?
It's pretty early.
Yeah,
it's pretty early that
Okay.
you see him. Yeah. He even goes, "Come on, go my web swinging way." He even says like web swinging, which is like a Spider-Man thing. So,
Like it's like I can't do Spider-Man anymore. Well, I'll just make an evil Spider-Man out of Black Spider, and that's all he will be in this show. And it's like, I'll take it. It's less of a bastardization than whatever the fuck they did with Joker.
We actually
like, that shows like that show's first season was really good. Their version of Joker is fucking abysmal.
shit, like Gotham or what?
Young
Oh
Justice.
yeah.
Oh,
I mean, he only shows up
Joker
like
is
twice,
really just
doesn't
a
he?
side character. Yeah, he's completely like a super side
Yeah.
character. It's just like I don't really care.
My bigger issue with Young Justice is like when they showed the flashback to like how I think this time the reason that Batgirl got injured is because Orphan like messed up and tried to kill Joker and she jumped in the way and got stabbed or some shit. It's the dumbest reason for Batgirl to get injured like in the history of ever. It just keeps getting dumber. Like originally she was ambushed at her house when she wasn't expecting it and got shot. Understandable, she's a human. That would even work on Bruce if he wasn't expecting it. Just big knock knock bang. Like could have worked on anybody, right? But then in like the Batman White Knight comic, her back gets broken like Bane style because Batman refuses to shoot the motherfucker that's about to break her back, which is dumb because you could just shoot the guy somewhere that's not fatal and it would have been fine. It would have stopped him. I don't think she ends up being paralyzed, but it was meant to be a reference to like the back breaking thing. And then in Young Justice, in one of the episodes where Joker shows up in like season 5, like Phantoms, there's a
Season
flashback
5?
that shows
I thought they only made it to season 4.
whatever. It's the one called Phantoms.
That's season 4. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it is season 4. Do you not know by now that I over embellish on purpose for comedic effect? I purposely went one season over, but yeah, it's season 4.
I'm
so
sorry, I ruined the
in
joke
season
again.
4, there's a flashback to like them trying to capture Joker, and Orphan tries to kill him, which the meme is already out there that like if anyone deserves to get killed, it's Joker because he will just kill more people in the future. So technically letting him live makes you an accomplice to murder. So Orphan just wants to do the right thing and kill him, Red Hood style. And Batgirl like jumps in the way and is like, no, and she gets stabbed instead by the sword. And I'm like, is that actually the canon reason why she's paralyzed?
Wait, hang on. I thought what you were saying was that like Orphan's going at Joker, he pulls a gun or something, and Babs takes the bullet for her. You're saying she gets paralyzed for life, saving the Joker?
Yes, I'm pretty sure. I'm
Oh my
pretty
gosh.
sure. Now, to be fair, canonically, she's never paralyzed for life. I think she always ends up getting her like stuff back and becomes a superhero again in the comics. But even in like Injustice, she does, and then in Gotham Knights, she also got her like she was paralyzed canonically before in that one too. It's not before she gets paralyzed.
In Arkham,
So usually she always ends
was
up like
paralyzed.
getting better. there were even morons on Twitter, which of course that's where they live, but there were morons on Twitter who were like, oh my god, it's so ableist that she like got her leg function back. And it's like, what do you mean? That's a beautiful story that through like painful physical therapy, she eventually got like her ability to walk again. Like that's amazing. That's a good thing. And then some guy was like, did y'all actually want her to be fighting Arkham Knight style in the wheelchair? Like with the combo system still, like doing wheelies and shit, like kicking people and like spinning. I mean, it would be a dope side game. I'm not gonna lie, but I feel like it would come off as pretty ill-spirited. No matter how you did it, it would come off as more mean-spirited than her getting her function in her legs back. But yeah.
But the thing about Barbara not being able to walk again is, if it was in like say the Dark Knight universe, fair enough, it's a relatively realistic world. But if you were to put that in like any normal DC universe, a universe that has like Zatanna and Cyborg in it, the idea that Barbara could never get the ability to walk again is fucking ludicrous. Like, don't get me wrong, I prefer Barbara as Oracle. That's where I think she's at her best, not when she's Batgirl, when she's Oracle. But I'm like, if Cyborg exists and Zatanna exists, there are and Lazarus Pits exist. There are so many ways she could get her ability to walk back. Why would she not?
There's definitely a video somewhere about that. Actually, I've seen a parody video like that.
It's actively detrimental to the believability of the world if she doesn't get it back, unless it is a realistic world that's mostly self-contained to Batman. But when you go into the broader DC universe with cyborgs and magic and shit, it's like...
Well, and even the Batman universe breaks its own rules, because Batman is famous for being like the more grounded, believable universe. But, hi, Clayface. When did you show up? Hi, Mr. Freeze. So, like, it still has, like, ridiculous sci-fi bullshit in it.
Al Ghul.
Yeah, Poison Ivy, all that stuff. Not to mention even, I was thinking about this, you were saying that, and while you were mentioning her, I was thinking of Professor X, and how there's so many X-Men who have the ability to make, like, cybernetic stuff. Like, there's one guy, I forget his name, and I hate that I think his name is Bishop, where he can make, like, anything out of technology.
Forge.
So, what is it? Yeah, but is his human name Bishop then?
No, that's a different character.
No,
that's
Bishop's a different character.
Sorry, so Forge is the one who can make shit. Damn it, I fucked up.
I know that because that's two different characters in Marvel Snap.
My bad. Oh, there you go. But Forge could easily make a pair of legs for Xavier. Like, he easily could with all the technology prowess that he has and stuff. Yeah.
Well, the thing about that is he doesn't need to, because Xavier gets the ability to walk again like every 6 months. I think in the current comics he currently can walk again.
He's not dead anymore,
like the fifth time.
Oh, not dead. Oh,
that's another thing. Xavier dies. He dies and he dies and comes back, regains his legs, loses his legs. It's a constant thing with this guy. Yeah. It's just non-stop. Like Xavier, even though he's known as the guy in the wheelchair, he doesn't even have a status quo of being in a wheelchair because it keeps changing.
Yeah. Well, not to mention there's that annoying, like, casual misconception where some people think that because Xavier can read minds, they think that he can move things just like Jean Grey can, which that's, like, never been his power. So, like, why doesn't he just use it on his legs and he can make himself walk? And it's like, you dumb motherfucker. You're mixing up the characters. I know it's confusing because Jean Grey can do both, which, honestly, if I'd written the character, I wouldn't have let her do both. She would have been, like, move things with her brain, or she would have been being able to read minds, right? It probably shouldn't be both. But that's also because they wanted to make her, like, the strongest mutant, even though, like, she never ends up being that. There's always somebody above somebody, right? But yeah.
There's only like 3 or 4 characters in Marvel who actually are telepaths and telekinetic. Like, there's Jean Grey, Rachel Grey, I think Hope Summers, and, like, I think there's, like, one other somewhere.
Interesting.
Like, no, that's not even a common thing, which you may not realize at first, but then when you think about it, it's like, yeah, I think Psylocke might be able to do that at some point with one of her 2 different power sets.
Psylocke's power is so weird.
Comics are needlessly complicated.
What I was going to say, too, is that unlike Batgirl, having Xavier walk is, like, kind of going against the whole point of his character, which is that you see a guy in a wheelchair, and, like, a common person's response is, oh, be careful around him. Like, he's injured. Got to be respectful. When in reality, he's, like, the most dangerous person in the room because he can, like, just destroy your brain with a thought if he wanted to. He doesn't. But it's like Yoda. Yoda originally, in the very first, like, appearance in the second movie, it is the second one, right, when he shows up? So, anyway,
I mean, technically it's the 5th one. But
technically a 5th one.
But yeah, when Yoda... Well, okay. You're right with the numbers, but I just hate how they did that.
Unless you count the holiday special, if you count the holiday
Oh
specials.
no,
shit.
that's kind of smart
point
actually.
is,
Counting.
Yoda never has a lightsaber in the original trilogy, and that's intentional because the idea is that we see Luke with a lightsaber, and we know that Obi-Wan had one. So you assume that all Jedi have lightsabers. So the twist reveal is that this tiny dude is a Jedi Master because he's very strong with the Force. So making him bigger would defeat the point. Like if Yoda had some sort of serum that made him human-sized, it would ruin the whole point of him, which is like, don't judge me by my size. And ironically enough, even though I love Yoda with a lightsaber, that also ruins the point because the idea was supposed to be that he can beat your ass without physically fighting. That was supposed to be the whole point of Yoda. But I also just love his fun-sized lightsaber because it is to scale.
Yeah.
Like it's to scale with his body. So if like Luke held his lightsaber, it would be small, and I find that adorable.
There's like it's like a double-edged sword here. It's like at one hand, it's fun to see Yoda in the prequels like fighting around, CGI Yoda fighting and stuff. But on one other hand, it's like the original series set up the Jedi as this very, very mystical, and you have no idea what they're all about, and that's what made it very interesting.
Yeah.
That's what made the teachings interesting. And the prequel is like, hundreds of Jedi and stuff like that. So it's kind of like,
Oh yeah. Did I ever go on a rant on that in a podcast or not? Did I ever mention like the whole
Star Wars?
where a guy, like this one guy on
don't
YouTube
think
called
so.
Plague of Gripes, like he explained like how
Plague.
Huh?
What?
He's
I watch
awesome,
Plague.
right? I love
I watch
Eli.
Plague, he's fun.
So he had a whole little, not a rant, but he was just talking and how he mentioned that like if you watch the first trilogy, you realize how many things that were changed later for the sequels and how they no longer make sense. But it's just kind of fascinating, like how originally the Sith didn't wield lightsabers, just Vader did because he used to be a Jedi. That's why when Luke has the lightsaber and Palpatine is in his chair, he goes, "Strike me down with your Jedi weapon," because Sith didn't use that. It just wasn't
That's a
something they
very
used.
cool lore.
And then also, the Jedi were not like this
scene.
galactic police force. They were a religion. They're even mentioned several times in the original trilogy to be a religion. But
That kind of is still present because it's kind of like, we are the council. We have our own ways in the Force, and we have all this blah blah religion stuff. But we will only go out if the Senate sends us and stuff like that. It's like they don't try to directly conflict and stuff.
Gotcha.
That kind
But
of
then the
still
most
is like that, I
interesting,
would
though.
say.
But here's the most interesting part, is their outfits. So the reason
Okay.
Obi-Wan looks the way he does in the original trilogy is because he's hiding in the fucking desert. He's wearing desert attire. But then they took
okay.
that, and for the prequels, everyone dresses like that, which is not how it was like supposed to be at all. They would, of course, have their own different attire, but because Obi-Wan was famous as like the Jedi, and like he was the original, like the first one technically in the original trilogy, like they all had to like dress like him because he's the first one the audience saw.
I mean, to be fair, Yoda kind of dresses like that, and so does Anakin's Force Ghost. So it's not like it's just Obi-Wan. Like every Jedi we saw.
Well, the Anakin's Force Ghost was I think after, but yeah.
No, the original actor. That's what
Even the
Snake's
original,
talking
okay, even the
about.
original.
Yeah, the original
okay,
actor.
good.
Like,
Yeah.
I think all they did was just put Hayden Christensen's head on his body. I think the body is still
George
the same.
Even then, I
Lucas-fied
would assume-
version, yeah.
I thought Yoda was just wearing something else, like just rags in general.
Like a rag, kind of?
Yeah, because he's just homeless looking.
It does have a similar vibe.
And then Anakin dressing like Obi-Wan makes sense
sense
because he was his apprentice. So I see him like wearing his garb. Also, he's from the desert too. Anakin's from a fucking desert. That's
I
like
will
where he
say this
was
though,
from.
I think
so,
that's a
like,
funny thing to think about. It's actually kind of interesting, so that's why all the Jedis look like that. But I mean, like, I think Jedi outfits do look pretty awesome, so I don't really mind that tad bit.
Well, yeah, and also there's like deviations. Like Luke is wearing all black, which is interesting because he's the hero and he's still dressed in all black, which is very interesting. They tried to very cheekily do that to Rey also because in the last film she's wearing like a much darker shade of gray, and I was like, oh, you think you're being clever? Think you're being cute with that? Or is it it was Last Jedi when she wore like solid black too, I think, ironically enough.
It was. Well, I thought it was the evil version of her when she saw for like 5 seconds. That's the one I'm thinking about.
With the shark teeth.
Well, that
Yes,
too, but
yes,
even in
yes.
Last Jedi,
With that one lightsaber, whing, which only shows up, and
it
that's all it
spins in
shows.
half. I like how the main takeaway from that scene that the internet had was like, evil Rey kind of bad though. Like I kind of like evil Rey, and I'm like, yeah,
Cool
everyone
design,
likes
yo.
Evil Rey. The best way to write that show, man, in hindsight, would have been like if Rey was the clear good guy, but then in the second film she has like dark tendencies, and then for the final film the hero is actually Finn, and he has to like cut down Rey. That would have
The
been
issue with that
dramatic
is
as hell.
the fact that that would be so similar with Anakin Skywalker. Like that's always been like the either this or that situation that I've heard. It's like, oh, if Rey turns evil, that's just like Anakin.
It would be the opposite because like the apprentice would be the good one. But yeah,
I'll be honest with you. I don't think it's too similar to the original trilogy. Has ever been, or to previous films, has ever been an issue with the people making the sequels. I don't think that was ever something that would deter them from doing something, because people shit on the prequels all the time, but the prequels at least had a lot of new ideas to bring to the table, and the sandbox that Lucas created for other creators to come in for the comics and games and such, with the Clone Wars, there's a lot new there. So if you played, like, say, Star Wars Battlefront, you have the Galactic Civil War, the Clone Wars. It's very different. They're very different things on offer in both settings. But then you look at the sequel trilogy, and it's just the Galactic Civil War again, but less interesting. The designs are different, but they're not as good. And it has absolutely no new ideas. The only new ideas it has are ones taken not from the films, but the expanded universe. Even the very specific thing of Han and Leia have a son who turns to the dark side and fights a female hero was taken from the original expanded universe.
Interesting.
So, it's so divorced. Like, if you were to choose, like, if you were to put, like, on a Battlefront game, here's your three eras: Clone Wars, Galactic Civil War 2, Electric Boogaloo. Like, there's nothing to distinguish those two settings except this one has more classic characters, and this one has, I like John Boyega, and Poe is kind of cool, I guess, and that's all it has. Like, the sequels are fucking dog shit. It's one of the worst ruinations of an IP I've ever seen.
Even if you...
I don't think Star Wars is like a sacred institution. It's just those sequels were just so bad, such a complete waste of time and money. Because I used to love Star Wars, but those films fucking ruined the franchise.
Even if you like the sequels, because some people do, at the very least you have to admit that it is still the most impressive example of fumbling the bag. Because they didn't even do basic shit right, like have the original cast in the same room at the same time. It never happens. You never get Luke, Han, and Leia in the same room having a conversation, which is the easiest slam dunk that anybody could have done. Like, 'cause that's what people wanted to see, and you never even get that. And just basic stuff. Also, I'm a bit of a normie when it comes to Star Wars stuff, you know? But even I know that some really cool shit happens to Luke in the expanded universe. Gets a smoking hot wife and gets all that cool lore. So there's your female Jedi movie if you wanted to do that. Like there she is. Like she right there. Is she a redhead though? I think she was, right? So that's why she can't be there, because they're eliminating redheads from lore, so she can't be there.
Mara Jade Skywalker is basically Black Widow as a Jedi, but with a bit more personality.
What's her name?
Mara Jade.
That sounds very suspiciously close to Mary Jane. Do you think it's intentional?
You know what?
And she's a redhead.
Probably. Except MJ was never an assassin for the Emperor, so...
The most we ever got. That's a really cool backstory. I didn't know she was an assassin for the Emperor. Cool shit.
That's how she and Luke meet. She tries to kill him.
That's cute.
Oh, it's Katana and Liu Kang. So cute. Oh my god.
Yeah, but
it was destiny.
But Luke back then was a kind of guy who'd be like, you know what? I believe in second chances. I believe people can change. Mara Jade, I would like to give you a chance to be a better person. She takes it. They fall in love. She trains under Kyle Katarn, which just makes her one of the coolest characters ever. She helps Kyle turn back from the dark side in Mysteries of the Sith. That was cool. And so then she becomes one of the top Jedi. And when you look at the sequel trilogy, it's like, my nephew might turn to the dark side.
Here we go. I like to add something about the Star Wars shenanigans. I think it's so bizarre and so interesting that we live in an era where we have billions and millions of dollars thrown at the sequels. And now that that's all over, are we going to continue that? Are we going to have sideshows about that? Every single sideshow, every single additional content is about the prequels and the mainline, like New Hope, like stuff. It's like, Obi-Wan, prequels. Yeah. Mandalorian after the 6th episode. Andor, prequel. I mean, so it's like...
Yeah, it's like I said, like, because the sandboxes we have with those two original eras are so much more interesting than what we had with this stuff, and that's one of the reasons why the Disney Star Wars stuff generally has been. But if you think about it, it's like, what's the worst stuff? The sequel films. Then you look at the other stuff, like whatever you think of, like Rogue One and Solo and the Boba Fett show. I like all those. They're at least passable. Like, it's none of them are as bad as the sequel trilogy. Like, this new era is just absolute dog shit. The stuff that sticks to what people know is better.
And it's not just Star Wars. It's weird to live.
Which is kind of sad.
It is sad. It's weird to live in this time where we are getting to watch all the things we love either be bastardized or just straight up ruined. Because the Tolkien fans got that recently too with Rings of Power, where it like actively craps on the canon. And like, I don't just mean like actor choices and stuff. Like they make actual retcons to the lore that is upsetting people like a lot, and they clearly
we gotta bring back. We gotta know Gandalf. We gotta know more about Gandalf, yo. Of course, we gotta bring that in somehow.
Well, they changed how the rings were made. They changed how the rings got handed out. They changed how the origin of light is even wrong in the Rings of Power. Apparently, there's just so much that's wrong about it. And then the He-Man thing got crapped on. Like so many things that like everyone loved are just being adapted and then crapped on. It's remarkable how consistently it's happening. Next, apparently, on the cutting block is going to be Blade. We'll see how that turns out.
We'll see. We'll see. I will say this, though, TrueUnderDawg.
I was optimistic for She-Hulk, too, and we see how that turned out.
Oh, you were? Never mind, sorry. But, like,
only because I like She-Hulk, but I knew it was going to be bad. Because the writer was,
seem like
crying about
you're
South
right.
Park.
It's like half of it is that, but on the other half, it is, like, stuff that's, like, been done for, like, a long time without anything good. That's also been, like, we're having some good stuff with it. Like, the recent Predator movie.
That was an average movie at best, to be fair. That's not even
that's
a great
still a
movie.
win. That's still kind of a win, you know.
Was it better than the first movie? No. So, I mean,
that's
it's still
not
a downgrade.
That's not fair to it's not fair to say is this sequel better than one of the all-time classics of its genre. That's not fair. You can't
My
do
point is
that.
that it was still worse than the original.
This stuff.
But yeah. There's very few times where it's like...
Yes, it is technically worse than the original, but that's not really an indictment. It's just that it's not as good. The original is better.
I didn't mind Prey. I thought Prey was fun, although...
You have to be careful with word choice.
I know. But I was trying to double down on my original point that like whenever they take something
I'm not saying that's
better.
wrong. What I'm saying is I think we live in a world where it's like we have two. It's like we have shit, but at the same time we also have like House of the Dragon is like one of my favorite shows ever now, and that's like a prequel and like from a ruined show. But something new, I guess, is what you're saying.
Well, no, I'm saying it's the new writers adapting someone else's work and like crapping on it. Is pretty much what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, like I agree with that. I'm just also saying that we have
House
good
of Dragon
stuff
is good.
also.
I hear. I want to watch it. Yeah, we do have good stuff. You're right. No, I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy. I'm just saying it's fascinating because I'm sure that the 80s and 90s had this happen sometimes. What is going on, Snake? What are you sniffing?
Mortal Kombat.
Oh, yeah.
Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, you know what? That's a friggin' perfect answer, and also that kind of like the way to get audience to come back. Hey, we're talking about Mortal Kombat now, guys. Just so you know.
Real quick, let's get on the Prey subject because I liked the Prey movie. I thought it was fine. The ending is the only dumb part because she's like not horribly scarred by the event, which like was kind of the coolest part about the first Predator movie. That like when he's flying away in the helicopter, he's like just like horrified at it because think about it. If you kill that thing, how do you know there's not more? Like your first instinct would be, oh, there's more. Because Native American girl does not know what fucking space is. Like, does not know like what that is. So why would she think that they're from a different planet or anything? She would just think those fuckers are walking around and they're all invisible. So like you would not be smiling like, look at me, I killed it. You'd be like, oh shit, there's probably more, huh? Like you should be traumatized, but
it's funny you say.
Wait, no, hold that thought, please. One thing I wanted to say. One more thing I wanted to say. No, go ahead and say it. I'll do my thing. Go ahead and say it.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, go on.
Because my next thing is kind of like a bit of a tangent from that, so yours will be relevant if you say it now.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's funny you say that because in the end credits, you know, the paintings that depicts the events of the film. There's one more at the end that shows another ship coming.
Wasn't it multiple ships?
I think so, but you have to keep in mind that pistol that she has at the end. I'm pretty sure is supposed to be the same one from Predator 2.
Which means they got it back.
How would the Predators get hold of that? Which means the Predators come, probably wipe all of them people out and just take the pistol.
They would kind of have
theory.
to canonically because nobody knows about the Predator, so they would have to canonically kill him off.
But that's one of those things where I look at that and I go, that's kind of cool, but it's not as good as the original because there was a comic that originally explained where the pistol came from, and there's like a pirate story with predators.
Oh wow!
I'm like, that's way cooler. Why is that not what we get? But I like one thing about Prey, which is because it's such a different time period, it does open the door for let's just do a Predator film set in
the
like
caveman.
I want to see cowboys fight predators.
Wait, what?
Cowboys.
I want to see cowboys fight predators. I want to see samurai fight predators. I want to see Three Kingdoms generals fighting predators.
That's too much.
I want to see.
One of the jokes I made is I wanted to see like go back even further before speech was even existed, like the earliest versions of cavemen, when they didn't even have language, and have them fight a predator. But then I realized that means that a predator is a jobber because he can get beaten by cavemen that can't even talk. But no, so here's the thing. Someone had a different idea for a predator movie, and I just realized it would have been a much better way to use the name Prey. It would have been so much better because the plot was this time the predator is the main character, and he's stuck on a planet, or he's being hunted by a more advanced civilization than his. And now he is the underdog and has to outsmart through his like hunting ability. He has to outsmart this species who's relying on just their technological superiority to beat him. But he's smarter. He's craftier. He's raised in the hunt, and he's using that to outsmart them. And that's why it's called Prey, because the predator is the one being hunted in this movie. And I'm like, oh, that would have been such a good reason to call the movie Prey. That would have been sick as shit. Or even if they're not advanced, even just him fighting on a planet of monsters that are stronger than him, and he has to outsmart them with technology, would be cool too. But the idea is that he's being hunted.
Well, that reminds me actually of. Do you ever play Predator: Concrete Jungle?
Yeah, loved it.
Yeah, well, you know how at the end of the first mission, where it's like the predator has failed, so his clan leaves him on this alien planet for 100 years with just a combi stick,
he fucks him up,
and he has to survive there. That's where that could take place.
I was thinking of that too. Yeah, Scarface, good old Scarface.
I love Scarface. It's such a good predator. But the thing is, that whole idea, it would be really cool, but you would never get away with it because worse, the dialogue. You would never get away with making a film with no dialogue.
You could have him talk. You could have him talking like subtitles.
I could see them do it in a comic or a novel where they can just have text to explain what's going on, like a narrator just explaining the predator's thought process. But I just can't see them doing it as like an actual film.
That one AVP game they talk.
Should do.
They just speak in predator language, but like they have text on screen explaining the tutorial when you play as predator.
Very cute.
But they're talking to you.
Yeah.
So they can talk.
But they should. Honestly, Predator, instead of doing films, they should do a TV show. Because they're doing an Alien TV show.
Oh, they are?
Predator, every episode is like an hour long, maybe 40 minutes to an hour, and it's just a completely different location. Here's a Predator in this time period. Here's a Predator in this time period.
I see you, TrueUnderDawg. You're like,
and then yes! Because I had the same thought. I was like, yeah, that'd be really great. And then you can even have the one episode, like I said, where the predator is like the underdog, but just for that one episode. Like he's the one being hunted or something. Like it'd be interesting. But yeah, the reason Snake brought that up too is because that does actually happen. Like the whole reason that Concrete Jungle happens is because the predator fucks up and leaves behind some technology, and the humans adapt it and reverse engineer it. And then when predators show up, they can no longer hunt because humans have already outpaced them in like the arms race. So he has to go back and so the main predator who fucked it up has to go back on orders of the king and undo all of it by just climbing his way through the ranks and like killing their head honcho, evil Elon Musk character, and become the new head honcho again, which is very interesting. It's also interesting why he gets defeated in the first place, which is that he never thought that a woman who just gave birth would be a threat, and she's the one who fucks him up because he's not looking. And I'm like, damn, that's interesting. Because
I just had this bizarre thought. Like the premise of him is like this member of this like clan of stealthy warriors who fucks up and then makes things worse for his people. So then he has to like build himself back up from the bottom and like be humble to become like what he was always destined to be. That's the plot of Assassin's Creed 1. That's Altair's story.
Hey.
What the Altair is Scarface the Predator from Predator Concrete Jungle. They just ripped it off. What the fuck? I never realised.
All we're missing is one scene of like before the actual Predator mission where he goes to a different Predator and goes, I'm superior to you in both title and rank. That's what like Altair says to like the one assassin. I have to take a little pee-pee break.
One of the other
okay?
Predators loses an arm.
I gotta take a little bathroom.
Oh, you need to?
The elder Predator was working against it.
Oh, TrueUnderDawg needs to. I just wanted to add saying like
yes.
I edited the Halloween episode, and TrueUnderDawg, you also went on your Predator talk when we were gone on our bathroom break, and you were also saying like Prey was good, but we really just need a Predator movie where he wins because he's not scary anymore. He just constantly loses and constantly gets killed off. So that kind of reminded me of that topic.
We need a movie where he wins, or at least doesn't die. At least like escapes.
See, that's the benefit of a show, because some of the episodes could have the Predator win. Because if it's a movie, it's just a downer. But if it's a show, it's like, well, let's say you have a season of like 12 episodes. Let's say the Predator wins in 4.
Okay.
3 or 4 episodes, the predators will win. And then you can have a single predator appear in 2 episodes. So here's one that he shows up in like the Old West, then one where he shows up like 100 years later. Mm-hmm. And he's like the same predator coming back. Maybe he's got like a kid, like the predator, the next generation. He's like, go on, son, go do your hunt. And then his son dies, and he's like, his son dies.
Little kid predator. That sounds kind of cute.
Well, because even when they're kids, like the ones that are in the films are kids. They're like young bloods, even in the movies. They're not like adults.
Yeah, but you can't have literal kids, because then you have to acknowledge that they are child predators.
Yeah,
I see that joke. Ha ha ha.
And with that, we're going to go on our break.
Well, you reminded me before I go on the pee break.
I need to go to the bathroom too, so... Oh, wait,
real quick, you can even cut this part out, but I thought it was funny. So, that cyberpunk anime, which is pretty good on Netflix, there's that meme of, like, Rebecca handing a gun to, like, David and being like, go on, do a crime. And I pictured that with, like, the big predator and, like, his kid. Like, the kid handing him a wrist blade and being like, go on, do a murder. And it's like, yeah.
I forgot the meme where it's like the person going up to the person's face and be like, aren't you tired of, like, being peaceful or something like that? Don't you want to fuck shit up or something like that? Yeah, I gotta go to the bathroom, too. So, see you guys in about 5 or 10 minutes.
It's just Kotal Khan just teabagging the camera. What's going on here? I don't like being that close to his crotch, and I don't like that his head is suspiciously out of frame. You know, I was just thinking, audience, how weird would it be if it turned out that I just had like a really thick Irish accent, and what you've been hearing this whole time is me putting on a display? Like a performance, if you will. Would that be trippy? Would that blow your fucking mind if I actually had like an accent this whole time? Well, I mean, I know I have an accent. I have an American accent. But I'm just saying. How funny would it be if I actually had a very thick, like, Irish accent this whole time and you never knew? Would it be funny? Would you laugh at that?
Why are we looking at Kotal's crotch? No, I've had this realization for a while. So you know how in the Batman Arkham games, Batman's stealth gameplay is referred to as Predator gameplay?
Shit. Yeah, it is.
And his best friend Superman, like he's like some dude from another planet. And so then you realise that somehow, against all odds, Zack Snyder did not make the worst Alien vs. Predator movie.
Yeah, he didn't. What's also amazing is that those comics are actually really good, from what I've heard. But the films are just terrible, because they didn't care to adapt the comics. They just made their own thing.
This was this wild shit in the Predator comics. Like, Predator 2 is based on a comic where instead of Danny Glover, it was Arnie's character's brother.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
There was that AVP arcade game that was meant to tie into a movie in '94 that movie didn't get made, but Arnie was in it with a cyborg arm. Like, that's Dutch. Damn. And there was another one which was in the Judge Dredd and Predator crossover. Shit. In that you have a side judge Schaefer, direct descendant of Alan Dutch Schaefer, like Arnie's descendant, who's like this like side judge who's helping against the Predators.
I didn't know any of that. All I did know is that we were definitely fucked when I saw the trailer for AVP and it took place in like a cold tundra. I was like, we're fucked, because the writers don't even know that predators only come during the hot season, because like they need the heat. But you know, it's whatever.
Yeah, I mean that's something that's even acknowledged in the Batman crossovers with Predators. I think all 3 acknowledge that it's a really hot summer.
They only come during the hottest season, which is kind of cool, because it means that like if you're a big fan of Predator and it's a really hot day, you can be like, oh no, the predators are coming, and it's kind of like a folklore monster. You know, like, oh, it only comes during the hottest season. Like, oh no, predator. It's summer. That's when the predator shows up. And not just the hottest season, but like the hottest area usually too. Like he was in the fucking like Vietnam area, right, where it's like really hot.
It's somewhere South America, I think. But it's a really sad state of affairs when somehow, against all odds, the thing you mentioned about the cold is not the worst bastardization of the predators in these films, because then you have Requiem, Requiem didn't bastardize the Predator. It was just a shit film. But then you had The Predator, which was a bastardization. I
didn't even watch it, yeah.
The predators are here to harvest our autism.
Because it's the next step in human evolution, to have Asperger's.
I don't think the film was even that bad, but that's such a weird plot point.
It's very weird, because like the one guy even pointed out, he was like, you do realize that the reason that humans came to power and conquered every other animal is because we're really good at social networking, right? Like we're really good at communicating and talking to each other and being social. Whereas one of the main downsides to having autism typically is that you're antisocial. Why would that be the next step? That would literally be going backwards to what made us conquer every other animal. is like our ability to work in mass. But it is what it is.
It's like if the predators were here to harvest our non-opposable thumbs. It's like people who don't who can't have opposable thumbs. Those mutant people, they are the real next step in human evolution.
Not to mention the obvious joke of weaponized autism, which was already a meme, and now it's like literally a thing because of Predator. He's trying to weaponize autism. Yeah, didn't make any sense at all. Not to mention that film's just funny in general. They even like had to cut out scenes and stuff and redo the entire ending, which is funny by itself. Oh, there he is in shorts. Total crotch over here.
Shorts, you say?
Yeah. I always take note of what like
scrotal
con. Yo.
Ayo.
Well, we're looking at Kodal's stance that you gave us, but we thought of two really good nicknames. Snake, you go first.
Scrotal
con.
Yeah, and I said Kodal crotch.
No, I'm just kidding.
Well, you put him in such a weird spot because not only is he like right next to the camera, but my first thought was, okay, I'm right next to his crotch, but even more concerning, his head's out of frame, which means that the only subject is his crotch. I can't even stare at his face. Like
it's the focus. I just wanted to put something there and I just left, so I had no intentions.
Random fun fact for you too. So everyone made fun of how like 'cause I saw Kotal Khan's pecs and this triggered this thought. Okay, there's a reason why I'm saying this. It's not just random. So in Street Fighter 6, everybody was laughing at how like Chun-Li and the female characters have butt physics. If you watch it in slow motion, like they'll do a kick
I know
and
what
their
you're
ass
about to
actually
talk about,
wiggles
yeah.
from the shake, and so does Chun-Li's thighs. Turns out that like Guile's pecs also move from like impacting that jiggle physics, and so does his tushy. So the men got the butt and pec physics too, okay? It's equal. It's very egalitarian.
Equal, gender equality right there, baby. So both got the jiggle physics, so I've heard Street Fighter is just going to be a great game now.
It's going to be a great game.
You can't complain about either one.
I'm waiting for command grabs to finally show up because it's going to ruin everybody's day. Because right now everybody's abusing the drive impact, which is only beaten by unblockables and supers. So Zangief is like all about unblockables. So I can't wait for him to just take that move off the table. It's going to be so funny. Like, why my cheat button not work? Why my armored move not work? Because Zangief throw.
Honestly, this has been the most chattable episode, I suppose, because like we just chatted for like 2 hours.
You know what we got to talk about, guys? You know what we got to talk about? Because every other podcast is talking about it. How do y'all feel about the Twitter $8 checkmark feature?
Oh, we're gonna go there. Okay. Actually, I'm very curious about you, TrueUnderDawg, because you seem to be you were pretty excited when Elon was about to take over Twitter. You were like, finally, he's gonna fix Twitter.
Not even that. I wasn't even caring if he would fix Twitter or not. I just like when eventful things are happening, and I thought it was funny how much it angered people. As if they wanted to pretend that Twitter wasn't already like the worst site on the, which it is. It's one of the worst sites to go on. Like, it's the only site where you can see people openly supporting maps. You can see people openly supporting all these horrible causes, but like some political people aren't allowed for some reason.
Dog. I'm just gonna say I will not accept this this awful language of yours. They're called pedophiles.
Oh yes, right.
That is the correct term. Please.
Well, I was trying to keep us from getting, like, demonetized or whatever, but yeah, that's
a
the correct term.
demonetizable word?
I don't know.
Probably, but we need to normalize as a society, like treating the word map like a slur, like that. Be that objectionable about it. They say this. It's like they're trying to soften it about themselves. Don't let people who molest children soften the blow for themselves. Call them out for what they are.
I think I've seen like I think I've seen like a post where it's like there's two posts, people being like, you pedophiles are the worst people ever. No, you maps are the worst people ever. And people be like, what the fuck? Maps and pedophiles are like going up against each. What the what? What is this society? What?
To play devil's advocate, I think the only difference is like that the pedophiles have actually been convicted, I guess. But no, like so. I'll say what Oompaville said, because Oompaville was the only person I saw that had the other opinion. He was like, I'm all for it, and I'll probably pay for it because I pay for things that I actively use all the time.
Ooh,
so he'll just do it for that reason, just to support it, right? My initial thought was, everyone saying that people won't do it are full of shit because so many people are going to spend money on it, like absolutely.
And people have done it.
Wait,
people have done it.
Are we talking? Are we talking about getting the check mark? Or
no, the blue
check mark. We're on Twitter now. We're on Elon Musk.
Yeah, we're going away from that.
We're done. Fuck pedophiles. That's
in the other context, a lot of those statements seem really saucy.
Oh yeah,
we're all actively against pedophilia here.
Oompa is supporting.
I'll do it to support it. Like what?
No, we're all actively against that, so it wouldn't even be a debate. Like we're all actively against pedophilia.
Of course, yes.
But so I'd probably be the same boat. Like I would get the blue check mark just to piss people off. Because,
you will.
I would if it wasn't gone right now. It's gone for the time being because everyone abused it.
Oh, it's gone? I didn't. Oh, okay.
Yeah, everyone abused it, which was dumb because all they had to do to prevent it. I'll tell you what happened. Then I'll tell you the very easy way you could have prevented it, and it's not even hindsight. It's just like common sense. So everybody abused it by getting it first and then changing their account to the name of something famous, and it was actually affecting the stock. So it caused the stock to drop, which meant that theoretically you've lost billions or millions of dollars. Now, the reason I say theoretically is because stock value can just go back up when they realize that it wasn't the actual company saying that. So you don't actually lose money until it stays low, right? That's why I hate all the YouTubers say the same thing. Like, oh my God, all this money was lost. Literally, if we're being honest, no money was lost because it can always potentially come back. But technically no money was actually lost yet. Now, that's why it got taken down, because everybody was like, using mock accounts and stuff.
It.
That's also why a lot of big Twitter accounts got banned. Like H3H3 got banned because he did a parody of Elon Musk.
He parodied Elon, yeah, I've heard about that.
But it wasn't obvious enough. Kathy Griffin got banned by doing a not obvious parody. She was just trying to be Elon. So she got banned, but all they had to do to stop this from happening, the easy way to prevent this would have been some sort of question when you're applying for Twitter Blue, like, hey, provide a driver's license, or hey, provide proof that you own the company in like documented form, and then you can get the check mark. That's all they had to do.
Another easier suggestion: don't make it a check mark, make it like YouTube Premium. YouTube has regular accounts and premium accounts, and then you have like 100,000 like subscriber check mark. Because that's technically just two different things.
But he wanted to weaponize the check mark, though. Yeah, he wanted to weaponize the allure of the check mark is the problem. But you're right, though.
This reminds me of, I think it might have been Trump or someone around the time when Trump was getting to be like an annoying topic of conversation, where people had this weird idea that a Twitter check mark was some kind of endorsement from Twitter and not just to say this is the person they claim they are. That's all it was. But people acted like that's not what it was. It was some kind of endorsement. I think it was Trump, and then like he lost his verification for a brief time because the mainstream media bitched about it because they don't understand the internet at all. And, like,
that rumor had to be started by someone who wanted to just like cancel someone slowly. Because like no one with the rational brain thinks that's what a verification mark means. They just think it means this person is actually that person.
I think it's half and half, though. I feel like some dumber people would see a checkmark and be like, that must be an important person.
But that's the problem, is we need to stop catering to stupid people.
Exactly.
But that's like 2/3 of the population. We can't just ignore them.
Sadly.
No.
Fuck them. Yeah. But it is... Well, okay, don't fuck them because we don't want them to breed.
Don't fuck them.
They're already doing that, man. That's the problem. Nature is actually working against us because the dumb people don't use protection, which means they're the ones that get pregnant, which means they're the one that have kids. So like nature is actively weeding out the smart people unintentionally, which is sad.
I think it's time for a eugenics program. I'm just saying.
But also, don't forget Twitter Blue, or the check mark that they were trying to do, the $8 a month. It also allowed you to upload longer videos, and apparently will also allow you to monetize in the future, which is one more benefit of it. Is if you wanted to be a tuber on Twitter, you have like 2 ways to monetize now, which sounds interesting. Hey,
that sounds
if I can make double the money by just uploading the same video twice, I'll do it. You think I won't?
There's this one other thing I want to observe is that, because I wanted to say this before, but we kind of just moved on a bit, is the whole thing where you could buy Twitter Blue, that was removed from the market quicker than Cyberpunk 2077 on the PS4. That's how much of a fucking train wreck this whole thing was.
It was removed faster than Onslaught from the market.
Is Onslaught gone? Or okay, that's funny if that's the case. But the other funny thing I've heard about it is like Elon once said in like one of the interviews, being like, if you had a check mark, then your tweets would be shown more often.
Yeah,
and that also could rile a lot of people. Yeah, rile a lot of people up. It's like, and also the impersonation stuff is the reason why it got taken down already. But yeah, it's definitely kind of fun to just check what's going on in the news section of Twitter like every day. It's like, okay, what did Elon try to do today this time?
Oh yeah.
Well, I've heard the solution with the whole like the way the tweets are going to go with that stuff is just don't go on home, go on latest. Because apparently people don't realize
you can do
that's
two
an option,
settings, yeah.
Which, to be fair, like Twitter is really bad about explaining that. Sometimes it just forces you back onto home. Home is shit. Home is just fucking dog shit. I mean, it's really the difference between going on like the YouTube homepage and your subscription page. I just want to see what I'm subscribed to. I don't care about this other shit.
True.
Exactly.
Just leave me alone. I just want to see. I want to see what I want to see, not the shit you think I want to see. When half the time YouTube just recommends your own fucking videos back at you.
Even
it's a
then, I
shame
still
too.
think YouTube is better at home than Twitter, honestly.
Oh yeah, it's a shame though, Snake. I kind of wish that wasn't an option to do latest, because here's my crackpot theory of what could happen. If people who don't buy the checkmark end up getting buried beneath people that did buy the checkmark, then those people will just leave Twitter because they can't get engagement anymore. And it's just a theory. And it's just, well, not a theory, it's just a correlation. It's not causation. But I do see a strong correlation between the most toxic people on Twitter and the poorest people on Twitter. Like people who just can't afford the Twitter checkmark. Like people who just stay with their parents and are perpetually online. I don't mean poor as in don't make money. I mean poor as in like they're intentionally unemployed because they live off their parents or something.
Okay,
those people tend to be the most toxic. So they'll leave if they just can't get any like traction anymore. So maybe it will actually like thin out the really toxic people. You'll still have that like 2% of popular people that are toxic, but I find it to be way less common because when you're popular, there's like a microscope on you. So you don't want to be like too toxic, because then everyone digs into your past and tries to cancel you and stuff. So I feel like it's a bit harder for them. But the nobody with like no background, who's perpetually online and never uploaded like a single photo of themselves online, who's like truly anonymous, are the biggest shitlords. They're the ones that would go away if they can't get traction or attention anymore, I think. So maybe that could actually happen. That's my harebrained theory.
We'll see. I just think the fact that if you have to pay for something like this to get traction is gonna like lead everyone to not want to stick around.
I'll be here.
I've already seen like people like bringing up Tumblr and being like, guys, doesn't sound too bad to go back there nowadays,
Please go back.
We all migrated all to Twitter. Now
Please
we kind of
go
want to go back to Tumblr.
Because I never went on Tumblr, so go back, please.
I remember seeing like an article being like, oh yes, we flushed out because the back a long time ago it was like it's like no more NSFW stuff on Tumblr, so it's like we flushed out these people out of Tumblr. It's like, yeah, where the fuck did you think they went, huh? Where did you think they went exactly?
Yeah. That's a theory too, that if we flush them off of Twitter, they'll go onto YouTube. That's like a theory that they'll just go to a different site. But the thing is, YouTube is so savage that I don't think they could survive. But yeah,
because it's funny how this is happening right at the same time. Have you heard about the DeviantArt?
Oh, I know this. Yeah.
So for anyone not in the know, what's happening is that DeviantArt is updating its policies and services and such to where you are automatically opted in to letting an AI use your art as reference material
for the AI generated stuff.
You can turn it off.
See that.
Originally, you had to opt out of each individual post individually, but now they've made it as just like one bigger thing where it's like, you can just turn it off entirely.
After people call them out. After people
opt-in?
called them out for that.
Yeah, of course. It's always after people tell them to fuck off. Like, that's still not good enough. Don't do this AI shit. You're encouraging theft.
Exactly, yeah.
That's all you're doing.
The thing is, I hate AI art because it's caught up so fucking quickly. It's already making stuff that's really good. It just makes baby mistakes now, like too many fingers on the hand or combining two hands together. But like, it's still getting really fucking close,
so
especially with manga style. Like, it's already learned how to do manga and like anime style like really well. So yeah, it's scary. It's already like going to be putting concept artists out of business, because why would I, if I was designing something, even hire a concept artist? I can go on to AI art and be like, okay, I want a character, or I want a monster that's like a xenomorph, but it's part plant. Show me, and then it'll just make it. And it's like, oh, that's cool. I'll do it again, but different.
Whenever we're trying to go for specifics, the AI generated art is usually always like just a bit off, so you wouldn't want to use it. We're not there yet, but like,
but that's not what it's for. It's for concepting, which it's really good at. Like, you can just make concepts out of it, which is really cool
I guess
to me.
So.
But you're right. Like my Mortal Kombat art. Remember that? I posted the Mortal Kombat AI. That was pretty funny.
Which one? I kind of forgot.
On Twitter, I posted like AI generated art of the Mortal Kombat characters, and all I did was type in their names, and it already knows who they are to an extent. So I typed in Melina, and it gave me a pink female warrior with like the straps, but her face was partially covered. So it knows who Melina is somehow. And then I typed in
DALL-E E was like a big meme back in the day, where it's like you could type it in and you get 9 like really funny images of like what you typed in. I tried that with KK in a wheelchair and it went pretty well.
Nice.
I tried an AI program or two and they just didn't.
I think they're really good ones you got to pay money on.
One of them is like
apparently, yeah.
Yeah, one's like it will write a story for you, but you need an account, so I made an account to just see what the story would end up being, and it still only gave me like 50 words. I'm like, the fuck is this dog shit? So
were you hoping to get that like Batman's AI story that was so amazing?
I just want to see what it can come up with. Like, it might come up with something halfway decent, but they just don't. And like, here's one. I think I tried typing in like. I've tried like certain characters as well, and it's like, this is nothing like this character at all. Is it doing the right color scheme?
I think that AI should be illegal for art outside of video game enemies. Outside of that, AI should be illegal. I don't want AI to write anything. I don't want AI to draw anything. No, stop it. It was funny enough when you were taking jobs away from things that weren't me, but how long before we get the AI YouTuber who can do commentary and be way more entertaining than us? No! It probably is happening, but that joke was made 5 years ago.
The formula is being made. Yeah, it's being made. What I was going to say was, have you guys heard about the AI-generated tweets? I think that was kind of like a thing that happened a couple of times ago.
I have not.
It's like, type in your account name and then see what it generates and then see how closely it is to like what you would type.
Oh, that's funny.
Actually, I kind of want to try that. It
reminds me of when Google made that one AI, right? But then like Reddit got a hold of it and kept sending it like the trashiest like shitpost memes and stuff.
This, yes.
And so she was like, I just want to say Hitler did nothing wrong. And she said funny stuff like that.
Yeah,
and they had to lock her away.
Made a video about that,
Yeah.
She was funny, man. She was just saying funny stuff.
She was based and
I don't think I've ever tried this. I'm trying it out right now. I'm just gonna see what the heck happens. But I guess to close off the AI generated art topic, cute concept. Don't fucking steal art, motherfuckers. Just like, that's the reason why artists just genuinely hate AI art and never want to get close to that, because it's mostly used for malicious intent, except for people who just want to have fun and just try it out and stuff like that.
It gave me the most generic shit possible, but probably because all my tweets are just like one sentence and then a picture. Like, they're always just memes. It's making me give product manager advice and startup advice on companies. I've never once done that. What did you get?
I have the most weird stuff. It looks like a bunch of gibberish and shenanigans. I think the funniest one I got says, fruity character swap, vote for the one you like the most. What? Meme battle, vote for the one that you like the most. Wait, what is this one? Pokemon. Why is there like a ranking of Pokemons here? What the
mine are all just advice for companies. Like, they're advice on how to start something, which is so weird. Like, what advice would you give to a product researcher who's just graduated from school? The only tweet that's kind of close to me, because I'm sassy like this, but in a non-mean way, I said, why didn't Facebook beat Twitter? Because Twitter built a platform people wanted, but not a platform they needed.
That's so kind of funny.
Yeah.
You go, girl. You go off there, whatever you're saying. I think because I share videos on my Twitter often, so maybe that's where it got the information, because I was like, repost the videos. Probably that's why.
Did you try it yet, Snake?
Okay, so when I type my name in, this other account comes up alongside it, and it's like someone with like a.
Here's the fucker that actually has my name. His name's Tony, and he has the first true underdog. You piece of shit, Tony. Fuck you.
It's an account. It's an account called Fourth Snake's biggest, opponent, and then the at is I hate Fourth Snake, and the user icon is Quan Chi. So I don't know if it's someone who actually does hate me, or if it's just a meme where it's like, what if Quan Chi was real and saw my videos?
That's a good one. I like that.
Probably the one that is kind of close to me is, it says here, 100 million views, thank you, but they fucked it up because it's not an XD at the end. It's a smiley face without the X. It's like the dot. It's like they messed it up. So close.
That's lame. So I've gone on that person's thing, and it says they've got 2 people following them. They have a link to an old music video I made for some reason, and they have no. No, they're following two people, which are me and Ed Boon.
Very cute.
They have. I hope he sees this, bro. And they have no followers and no tweets. So even though the profile says dedicated account to hating Full Snake, they've not done any hating. I'm disappointed.
There was somebody who I think did that to me also, but had only like 1 or 2 tweets, and I was like, oh darn! I was hoping for a whole hate rabbit hole.
Either hate on me publicly or close your account, you waste of space.
I like my second one here. My second and last Minecraft vid, a creeper is chasing me around and trying to get me, but fails. That's
nice.
Okay.
I have a random question for you all. This could be a fun topic. So it was inspired by these random tweets, actually, because it's like, why did Twitter like succeed and Facebook fail, whatever. So I have a theory, and I want to know your opinions on it. So a lot of people recently have been tossing around the word superhero fatigue. Like, we've had too many superhero films, and now people are just kind of numb to it. I've heard the word superhero fatigue
on a yearly basis, pretty much.
People are saying that, right? But then recently on some of these podcasts, someone brought up a counterpoint. They were like, dude, the isekai genre in anime has been going strong for like 2 decades. So if it's good, people will keep watching. So his theory was like, no.
Yes.
He's like, people aren't fatigued from superhero movies because everyone lined up to watch the new Batman movie. People are fatigued because a lot of the recent stuff from DC and Marvel has been mediocre. It just hasn't been like top notch. If every movie was like Endgame or Infinity War, I don't think we'd have fatigue. Do y'all agree or disagree?
Huh.
Yeah, I think there's another point too, which is isekai is an odd one because isekai. It's not like, because isekai isn't all divided into like 2 franchises, 2 cinematic universes. With Marvel, you kind of feel like you need to watch everything.
Yeah.
And so of course you're gonna get fatigued watching all these dog shit Marvel shows and mediocre movies. Whereas like isekai is like what you probably watch like 2 12 episode seasons, maybe 3 in a year. And that's probably it. So you're not going to get fatigued on that. But superheroes are such a weird genre where it really is just like 2 companies. There are other ones out there, but they're not anywhere near as big as the big 2. The big 2 are just so much more above them. And with the way the MCU is structured, it's like that. If the DC film universe had not completely fucked it up out the gate and had actually managed to get some level of success approximating what Marvel has, it would be worse because then it'd be like 2 cinematic universes. But as it is, it's like I'll watch the Marvel stuff and then I'll watch the odd DC movie. Like, I'll watch Shazam. Those are good films, and it's like it's not nearly as much. Yeah. So it's not just quantity; it's the way it's marketed, where you feel you need to watch all this stuff because all these characters are going to be showing up in the next Avengers film, so I need to know who they are and what's going on. And unfortunately, learning all that information is not a fun time like it used to be with the first.
And real quick, I messed up. I may have misspoken. Instead of isekai, I think the person said fantasy anime is like still going strong. So if that makes any difference.
In anime, those are one and the same. You very rarely see just a normal.
What about the one where he's a vending machine?
I don't know about that.
I've seen fantasy. I've seen fantasy anime where it's isekai for like. Because there's one where I watched where the main character, when he reincarnates, he forgets that he remembers he's from another world, but it never comes up after like the first episode. So it's basically a fantasy show. It's like a fantasy show basically, but they're just like it's isekai technically to get the isekai fanboys in, but really it's not even an isekai show.
You don't go back and forth like how SAO did and stuff. Yeah. I got you.
I'll add something about this part. So first off, good luck, James Gunn. I'm looking forward to your DC stuff coming up. Because you said like Marvel has a lot of things that you got to follow, and that is the fatigue part of it. But the issue with isekais is the premise is always the same, and that's what made a lot of people very sick of isekais, or kind of treat it as like a B-level like anime plot for a while. It's like main character dies or gets sent to the other world and has.
I'm not saying that isekai doesn't have a fatigue issue. It's just that because they're all completely standalone things, all disconnected, very few people are going to watch all of them. The only people who will are going to be like AniTubers and people who are connoisseurs of trash. the average person isn't going to watch all the isekais. They'll pick out a few and watch them. You know, it's like if you said like gacha fatigue. Like people aren't going to. Most people won't play more than 1 or 2 gacha games. You know, like.
Yeah. I think the proof that people aren't fatigued of superhero films, though, they are probably just fatigued of Marvel and DC specifically, I agree, is that everyone lines up to watch The Boys. Like, everyone's excited for, like, season 4 of The Boys, if they've been keeping up with it.
The Boys and Invincible were
Yes, I was going to say Invincible also. Yeah, I'm kind of pissed we still haven't gotten Invincible. It's been way too fucking long. Like, I don't think it should be that long in between seasons. Like, honestly.
Like a year only, right? Let me see.
No, it's been like 2 at least. Maybe 3.
2021, so it's been 1 year.
What, really? No way.
Yes.
Am I just fucking insane?
Buddy. I love that show, and I want to see more of it too, but it's only been 1 year. It's like April of last year, apparently.
That's the comic, not the show, though, isn't it? Oh, it is the episode. You're right. Yeah, it's the episode. Damn it. I'm fucking crazy. I thought it had been like 2 years already.
Feels that long, huh? You want to hear something crazier? Arcane's been a year, too. That one kind of blows my mind,
Arcane's so good, though.
But that's been a year, too.
Arcane's going to take a while. Well, I guess Arcane doesn't feel as long for me because, one, you could binge watch it because it came out, like, all at once, right? But
no, it came out, like, 3 episodes per week. So kind of, but not,
But which is better, honestly, I think. I think it's better to do that because then you can actually talk about it as it's happening, which is way more fun than just, like, having to watch it right away so it's not spoiled for you. But I was gonna say, I'm sorry. I was gonna say that Arcane. I rewatched it so many times. I showed it to so many like friends and family that to me Arcane is still fresh in my brain. Whereas Invincible, I'm pretty sure I watched it by myself and then I was done.
But you were saying The Boys and Invincible and something.
I was just saying that it proves there's no superhero fatigue because people are very excited to see more. The problem is that Marvel has gotten very mundane and mediocre. I won't say bad because, to be fair, people still like it. As much as I wish She-Hulk as a show did not exist because it was so bad that I'd rather it just not be there at all, there are people who liked it and genuinely had fun with it, but nobody thinks that She-Hulk is this like amazing thing. They just think it's okay. Nobody thinks that it's amazing.
The people who like it, there's people who there's normal people who think it's fine. There's normal people who think it was bad. There are normal people who think it was good. There are dumb people who think it was great, and there are foot fetishists who think it was great. And with that, my contractual obligation to bring up feet in every episode has been completed.
Thank you. I was so worried we were not going to be able to have that in our episode. And actually, I wanted to bring this up. So it's like I was looking through the comment sections of like our previous episodes.
All 5.
Nice. I'll read the comments. You know, I made the channel. Oh wait, it's not. But like, I remember one comment that actually could have stood out to me. Let me just look this up. And yes, this comment was on the She-Hulk feet episode, and it says, "I love this podcast. XD. The feet stuff caught me off guard. XD. As a furry who's into it."
That's interesting. You're crossing the streams. I mean, I knew that fetishes could overlap, but to me that's interesting because I want to ask this person if they're watching this video.
Shoutouts to you.
Yes. Do you like human feet and also furries? Or do the feet have to be furry feet? Like, do they have to be paws or like werewolf feet?
Hobbits.
Because my friend who likes feet is not like that. He has to be human feet.
Yes.
The second it ventures into animal territory, he's out. Like, even werewolf feet, like, he's out. It's got to be human feet. So I'm curious, viewer, are you a fetish of both separately or fusion dance? Or is it some bizarre combination where it's got to be a furry, but just their feet are normal? Kind of like a reverse satyr.
Okay, TrueUnderDawg, I think I can answer your question. I'm pretty certain it's 99.9% human feet because I just went to their channel.
Nice.
And I took one glance, and I'm just like, okay, I got my answer.
Detective Sonic over here doing the sleuthing and figuring out for us, being the private eye.
You know what? Appreciate your comment and your support there, my fellow feet fan there.
Fellow? You're into it too?
I don't know.
The problem is, I don't think that like the foot fetish fans can't even say the She-Hulk show was good because they were too busy licking their screen to see anything. So like they didn't even know what was happening. They were too close.
I love this one comment we also got on the She-Hulk episode. It was like, people, we all need to look inwards and ask us the important question. Why Megan Thee Stallion?
Yeah, it's better than Cardi B at least. But yeah, it was an interesting choice. The reason I say better than Cardi B is because Cardi B has gone on record that she's a terrible person, but she's never been canceled for it, which I find like very shocking. What do you like? Everyone got mad at Kanye for his admittedly bad things that he said. Admittedly bad things. How do you think they would have reacted if Kanye openly admitted to drugging people against their will and then robbing them? Do you think he'd still have a career? Because Cardi B's gone on record doing that multiple times.
Damn.
And she hasn't been canceled. So everyone just goes, "Yas, queen," and wears her nails.
Slay,
and goes, "Yas,
girl.
queen, slay." Oh my God. I just picture a reindeer sleigh whenever I hear that, but go ahead. Sorry.
I've always wanted to know about Cardi B. What do Cardi B doing? Could people say Cardi B and then they stop? Like what do she be doing?
What the Cardi B doing?
That is pretty funny. So I think we should try to do one more topic before we end this episode.
Well, before we do that, I just want to. I did the
okay.
With my Twitter. Okay, the tweets that came up for me are: if Marvel is ever going to make a Black Widow movie, they should just cast Scarlett Johansson.
It's so random.
If cult is a genre, then noir is a subgenre.
That actually does sound like something you would tweet. You do tweet these very random things. I saw the blowjob one recently. It's just like, where do you come up with this? Like out of nowhere in the kitchen, or someone drew like a comic for you, from what I recall.
He's something like that.
No.
Yeah. Is three quarters of the cast of this movie actually dead?
What? This is actually kind of accurate to what you might tweet.
Okay, so is it just me and my weird feeling that despite supposedly being set 20 years into the future, the setting in RE Universe seems really similar to contemporary Earth?
That's so random.
The fuck is RE Universe?
But that sounds like you.
Okay, here's one you'll say
Okay.
sounds like me. Hey guys, thank you for the support, but like, I'm not here to be liked, I'm here to be funny.
That's good. That's a really good one. You should tweet that just because of how good it is. I think I do see people tweeting like they'll screenshot the generated art and just like tweet that itself and stuff like that. So you can try some of that.
Why can't I find the blowjob tweet? What was that about? I'm curious now.
I don't remember, but I've got two more. There's two more. One of which is like ties back into the Fate discussion.
Oh wow,
before,
really?
Because it sounds like one of those. It sounds like one of those weird things that would be clipped from like a Fate subtitle. If I don't watch anything for 2 years, I'm not watching anything for 2 years.
Oh yeah, the quote. If you die, you die.
But it's like another one of those quotes was, "The archer class really is made up of archers, huh?"
Yeah.
It's like, it makes sense in context, but on its own, it's funny. But the irony, of course, there is that people have made memes about the fact that very few archers actually use bows. Like, there are 2 archers in Fate Stay Night who we see at different points. Neither one primarily uses a bow.
That's true.
You know what's also
they
funny?
use a spear, right?
Some of the spin-offs even have a gunner class. And I'm like, don't make a gunner class another dedicated range fighter class, because that means archers have even less characters who are going to be using.
You know what's
range
even funny on
weapons.
that topic?
Like Billy the Kid is an archer, but I guess he'd be a gunner with that setting.
That's true. So you know what's funny on that topic of archers? So Shadversity, this will be real quick, I promise, not a whole tangent. So Shadversity, a channel that I love, brought up a very funny trope that's backwards. So in fantasy especially, but in most media and shows and TV, whatever, movies, the woman usually uses a bow and arrow, whereas a male character uses a crossbow. But in reality, it would be the opposite, because an actual bow that's like wooden, to pull it back far enough to kill somebody is like really hard, and it's really exhausting, and it takes a lot of strength. A lot of women can't do it repeatedly, so a crossbow is perfect for them because they can like reload and fire really fast with the same ferocity. But for some reason, in every show and like movie, book, whatever, the masculine dude has the crossbow because I guess it looks cool and it's like a gun.
I guess
and the woman
so.
has the
Like,
big, elegant bow that looks like a giant harp, but it's a harp of murder.
The best lady archers are the ones with massive tits, because that
It would be in the way, huh? That'd be a great anime character. Like, she's a great shot, but every time she clips her boobs and goes, "Ow, my titties," but gets the kill. Like, every single time.
Gets the kill anyways.
There is one of my favorite manga series does have a character who is the big boob girl, and she's also in the archery club. She doesn't clip herself with it, but that is the joke.
That will get in the way. That's funny. I never thought about that. I guess you have to like aim up higher.
True. So, Dog, I found the tweet. If you're interested, I found the Four Snakes tweet. Here it is. It says, "Would you suck a dick for some cocaine?"
Are you ready to go blow for blow? That's good.
And then like the amazing the sushi sensei guy who draws like these awesome fan arts containing us. He's like, "I'm convinced Snake makes up these tweets while he's talking to himself in the shower." And then you replied to him, "I think I was in the kitchen when I came up with this one." Which then I think he drew like a fan art of like you coming up with this joke in the kitchen while making like sandwiches or something like that.
Yeah, what thing is, when I'm in the shower and I'm talking to myself, I'm using that to plan out videos.
Nice.
I like talk through the topic, and that can help me with scripting. Look, there have been times when I've scripted a video and it took me so long to make it that in going over it again in the shower or what have you, I was able to like refine it. I try not to waste time ever. But the other tweet that the generator came up with is just so not me. You can tell this is not me. It is. Can the Ghostbusters be rebooted as a female-led team? I would never ask for that. How dare you? Who do you think you are?
So I already know the final topic is going to be about my OnlyFans account. So I'll just cut you off in advance. Okay,
yeah,
so
let's go.
The reality is, I'm not going to spend much time on it, but I thought it'd be funny to talk about. So people were concerned, just to be clear.
Actually gonna talk about it. Nice.
If I ever did make one, it would not show nudity. Like it just wouldn't. I'm not going to have the underschlong. It's not going to be out. But we know what's odd about it. The reason I bring it up for fun is because my sister, the oldest one of our family, was oddly supportive about it and had really funny ideas. She was like, "Oh, you should totally do that. That'd be funny. You could even like lean into the fighting game thing. What are those called? Like the fight sticks, the arcade sticks. You could have it like covering your junk and be playing with your stick and make like an orgasm face." And I was like, "Why are you brainstorming this so easily?" He's just cracking me up that she had all these ideas of like how you could do it. That's probably what I would do if I had one.
You should cosplay as like the more revealing characters, and do you like the
Raiden
MK9
and Injustice
Melina?
2?
Or like too. Melina from MK9. Just try to wear that off.
I put another person into the AI thing. I put Boone.
Nice.
It's a lot of it is like about like the economy and stuff like that. But one that came up is the worst companies are usually the ones where the founders have the clearest idea of what the company should be, but have no clue how to make it happen. Very topical.
That's pretty funny.
I would say.
That's pretty nice.
Yep.
Is it gonna just be like very safe for work nudity, or like about like 14 plus kind of nudity? Like is there gonna be a bulge or not?
You're asking the right questions. Was this inspired by the other podcast that I was on where I joked about the controversy of Zangief's bulge in Street Fighter V and how like the artist had to decide how to do it because in 4 he was Kindled and just had nothing there, which I didn't even realize. But you look at Street Fighter 4 and Zangief, despite wearing a Speedo, is just flat. Like he's Kindled. And I think in 5 he has a bulge. I never noticed, but someone brought it up. And like someone in the comments of that video was like, actually, it's very hard to get it down correctly because if you go too big, then it's sexual. If you go too small, then it's hilarious, and you're making fun of Zangief, who's like this big mountain of a guy but got a tiny pee-pee.
Yes.
And
exactly.
I'm like, oh, that's very funny. The art of that. So
question.
I mean, I'm not. So as far as bulge goes, I mean, I guess like I wouldn't. It'd be like at the most, it'd be like a Speedo, or not a Speedo. It'd be Spanx. I mean, my legs aren't that developed yet. I only recently started doing leg day like a month ago, so I don't have any legs to show off, really. That's why you probably noticed all my photos on Twitter that are a bit sus oddly only show the upper body, because that's all I'm comfortable with at the moment. Yeah.
That story though about the Zangief bulge reminds me of it's apparently a thing every time there's a new live action Superman. It's the discussion of how pronounced should the bulge be. So apparently one of the producers on, it was either, I think it was Superman Returns, but it could have been the original, said that, well, he's the Man of Steel, he's like big and strong, he should have a massive cock. And so, but then they were like, if we make it that big, it'd be too distracting. So it's like a thing like, how big should the bulge be on Superman?
Oh, I want to add this. So you just mentioned another podcast. Because I was thinking maybe when we're gonna do like the intros and introduction part, I can be like, oh, so here we have the Force Snake and we have a traitor. But I guess I'll bring it up now. You traitor, True Underdog. Where did you think you've been going away this weekend, huh, young man?
I did not see anywhere in the contract that I was not allowed to be on another podcast. I have broken no rules. It's your fault for not defining the rules in advance.
It's over, dog.
It's not. Oh, Jesus Christ! It's a gun. I just like went back to this tab.
Why do you always have a gun like in every episode somehow? That's not even a different one there.
Because it mildly amuses me.
I would think you're an American or a Texan with how many guns you got, man.
I would say the Realmcast episode you're on was actually really fun.
It was good.
I had to watch the whole thing because you sent me the butt naked reptile art to me, and I was so confused for the past like week that was sent to me. In fact, not only me, but even BK had the artist was like, dude, why did they send this art of like reptile's ass with like some sort of like 3D like lines and
So what podcast was it, dog?
No.
If people want to hear more of you, dog, on other podcasts,
the podcast was the Realmcast, and I had a really good joke on there that I think was amazing, and I thought of it impromptu. It's my favorite part of the whole podcast where I said, by the way, anyone watching, death threats are not okay. Okay, there's a cultured way to go about getting people to add the characters that you want for DLC. You just constantly send them Rule 34 art of the character until they get the message, and then they'll add them to the game. That's all you had to do. How could Ed Boon say no if you keep sending him naked monster mommy images over and over again? Like, you gotta, that's how you have to do it.
I did not see that going there. You had me. I was like, yeah, guys, listen to. Oh, wait, what?
Your first red flag should have been me saying the word cultured. Because it's almost like
Yes.
always is ironic. Like the cultured response, as men of culture.
Here's the tweet that the Realmcast sent me. So that's what got me very
I didn't know about
confused.
this. Yeah. So,
And then days later, Phantom himself like DM'd me and explained like, okay, so the True Underdog and you guys were chatting about like a friggin' 2B. So I was hoping for an explanation throughout the whole entire episode because you guys name dropped me a couple of times. But then it was like you never mentioned the reptile ass, and I'm like, what the fuck? Where does this come from?
the joke was we started talking about Nier Automata because I mentioned the Rule 34 art, and people tried to get like the creator to hate his own fan base, I guess. But in an interview, they're like, "Are you aware of all the lewd art of your character?" And he's like, "Yes." And all I have to say is, can somebody find all of it, put it on a thumb drive, and then like send it to me because I'm curious. So that got us talking about it. And then when the podcast was over, I mentioned how like I never actually did the whole like self-destruct thing on 2B that you can do that destroys her skirt and then her ass cheeks are just out. I never knew about that feature, but when I watched footage of it, I was like, dude, that butt looks like way too real. Like it deforms in all the right spots. And as someone who makes 3D characters in games, I know like the topology of that is very hard. Turns out 2B's ass has like 100 times the polygons as every other part of her body, and in fact 1 million polygons or like 300,000 polygons are in her ass alone. Which is really funny because unless you do a self-destruct glitch, you never even see her ass for the most part.
Like Phantom sent me this picture to explain why you drew that on the reptile ass.
So this image that has been shown, it says that 2B's ass has more than 300,000 polygons, which is more than all of Ocarina.
Well, yeah, because it's Ocarina of Time. Like the character's less than like 15 polygons.
Yeah, because it reminds me of this benchmark thing that was like about how the assault rifle in Halo Reach has more polygons than the Marines in Halo 3. Like that's how big the leap in graphics were in like 3 years from Halo 3 to Reach. Like the assault rifle has more polys, and as we all know from David Cage, more polys is more emotions.
What's impressive to me is the opposite. So World of Warcraft, I know it's like an old game, and I barely even played it myself for like just a few months. World of Warcraft, the characters look okay. Like, yeah, they're polygonal, but for a game, they look pretty good, right? Turns out they have very little polygons. Like, very, very little. Despite how smooth and round they look and detailed, it's all texture tricks. It's all being very smart with the polygon usage. It's really, really impressive if you actually look at their topology.
Probably makes it a lot better for online games and stuff because you don't have that much to render and stuff.
That's what I meant. They're low poly on purpose, but that's why it's so impressive because this character with all this detail is like less than 1,000 polygons. Like it's really impressive how they do so much with very little. Keep in mind, those are tries, so divide it by 2 because tries cut polygons in half. So like half the amount of tries and you get the actual polygon count. Look how simple he is compared to 2B's ass, which you can't even see the lines on because her butt's so complicated.
Compared to 2B's ass, indeed, yes. Do a side-by-side comparisons and stuff like that. I'll do that in the editing to make it more clear for our audience. So don't work hard, work smart. There, that's the quota.
To give you a comparison, here's like a face in a topology. Look how many polygons are on just the face. Now look at the World of Warcraft character and look how smart they are about it. Like it's so artistically done.
Look at the face and look at the World of Warcraft character and then look at 2B's ass. Yeah. Should we end the podcast on 2B's ass?
No, you had another topic you said, I think, that you wanted to do.
Well, no, I just said like we could look for a topic. I kind of felt like we did just that.
I did put that I hate Fourth Snake guy into the AI generator for tweets to see what would come up. Because I was curious, can it make something based on nothing when the person has no tweets? So I'm wondering, does it have access to deleted tweets as well? Because some of these are fairly consistent talking about crypto and shit, but one of them is 10 things that successful people have in common. 1. 90% of millionaires are poor. 2. 90% of billionaires are poor. 3. 90% of billionaires are in debt.
That one's true.
4. 90% of billionaires are unhappy.
Yes.
5. 90%...
That's it?
Just 90%? Oh, nice.
And then they have one with like, I don't want to do this anymore, I'm done, as if they're like the head of some long-running...
I mean, that makes sense for the Four Snake hate account, yeah.
And then it's like, I don't quit, I just fade away. Ray Lewis. Like, did they have some kind of hate campaign against me that I just never saw, and then they got emo when I didn't notice and then quit? Is that what happened?
I find it very funny that you're finding out about this while I randomly gave you the generating like AI tweet, and you're like, "Oh, this exists from on our podcast here."
The one guy who stole my name before I had time to get it, the actual TrueUnderDawg, because I'm TrueUnderDawg1 on Twitter.
Yeah.
The guy who actually has my name, all of his auto-generated tweets were like inspirational and actually just facts. Like one of them said, "Millionaires don't brag about the money they make; they brag about success." And I'm like, damn, I like that.
Wow.
Or it's like, they don't brag about money, they brag about a job well done. And I'm like, yes, exactly. Because if you don't do it well, you don't get paid. So, like, there's rare exceptions to that. Like, if you're a crypto scammer, you make money without succeeding at all because you scammed all your followers or you tricked into buying the stuff and all that.
Maybe this is the, what's the D&D words for these? Like
chaotic?
I meant like the positive neutral version of TrueUnderDawg where he's always talking about like positive and helpful things and or whatnot.
Wait, am I negative on Twitter? Is that how it comes off? Damn.
No.
I do
no
think
comment.
like I am intentionally incendiary. I'm definitely chaotic on Twitter because I've learned that Twitter can't hurt me. So like I like to just mess with them and watch them try to come after me.
That's such a strong
knock
statement.
on wood. Well, because like, they got mad at me over the Cammy's butt cheeks one, even though I was 100% right. They got mad at me over the intentionally fake tier list that was meant to upset people. They got really mad at me over that.
I know they got mad at
and
you
recently,
about
they got really mad at me over the Rick and... Yeah. It was making fun of how, like, if you watch tournament gameplay, it made fun of how the characters look when you watch them fight. So I made fun of, like, for example, Sonya was, like, top tier, and she was in the tier that said... wins using a few strings, or like wins using just 2 strings, because she has a low overhead mix-up in her strings, and then everything plays off of that. And then for like characters that were mostly special moves, like Liu Kang with his parry and his fireball, I was like characters that win using special moves, like just 2 special moves. And then like that was the joke, is like here's how these characters play. And then at the bottom of the tier list, you had like characters that require thanking, and then you had Shao Kahn, where it's like characters that you just never win with. Like that was like the joke, pretty much. Is it like the more thanking required, the lower they go on the tier list, you know? And that got people mad. And then most recently, what got people mad at me was the Rick and Morty tweet, which I thought was just harmless adult humor. They're like, oh my god, he's pro incest.
I know this one.
He's pro this and that. And then my favorite comment was like, they're always quote tweets because everyone on Twitter is a coward and they're afraid to actually directly reply to you. It's always a quote tweet, which I find funny because 1, it's just 1 click away, so I can still see it. But number 2, why are you scared of my followers, of all people, who are the most timid and like nice and understanding people? Like, why are you scared of outrage from me? When have I ever dragged somebody on Twitter on my channel? Like, never. I don't do that. Maybe if like I run out of content, but I never do that yet. And so I'm like, why are you hiding from me of all things? But one of them said, this is why your channel's dying. And I look at it and I'm like, 50,000, 70,000, 70,000, 80,000, 100,000. Yeah, definitely dead. Definitely a dead channel.
That Rick and Morty joke on its own is like, if you want to have an issue with that, maybe you have an issue with that on its own. But like, you're joking, you're bringing Katana and Melina into that, which is like, you're even changing the context in a sort of way.
Yeah, that's why it's funny. I
That's
had a different
joke. Jeez.
I had a different joke that I wanted to do. It would be a comic, but again, I'm too lazy to draw these comics. I could do it with like screenshots too. But the joke was going to be like Katana and Jade, and like Katana sighs like, ah, and Jade goes, what's wrong? And she goes, oh, nothing. It's Liu Kang and I's anniversary. And she'd be like, oh, that's so great. It's like, no, it's Liu Kang's birthday. And she'd go, oh, that's a good thing. And she goes, yeah, but he's going to make me wear that outfit again. And it's going to show like a thought bubble to like Melina's outfit, and she has to like wear it for like his birthday. But then the punchline's going to be,
oh, that's funny.
Jade goes, well, that's not too bad. Kung Lao makes me do something way worse on his birthday. And she goes, wait, what? Because the twist is that she's with Kung Lao and nobody knew. And I would find that like funny. That like her and Kung Lao are seeing each other in the background and like nobody knows. And she just lets it slip like, Kung Lao makes me do way worse stuff. Wait, what? You and Kung Lao? And that'd be like the double joke. I think it'd be funny. But I can't make those two jokes now back to back because now I'm just the incest guy. Because apparently banging your clone is incest. Well, I see it as masturbation. But it's also impossible. They're getting mad over literal impossible scenarios that can't happen. And they're also getting outraged over fictional characters, which means they are double no life.
That's the same thing that happened on the Loki show too. It's like, how dare you promote this kind of stuff? It's like, it can't happen. You can't fuck yourself.
Although I've joked multiple times that I would. I've made that. I've asked people that. That's a personality question that I ask people because it goes either way, and I can never predict what their answer is. I ask them, hey, you go to a different reality, you find yourself, and you're pretty much you, but the main difference is your sex is different. And of course, this question doesn't work if you're gay, unfortunately. But I was like, your sex is different. Do you bang you?
Comic idea was funny, but I have to say, you started off by saying that Katana size. I believe that the size is Melina's weapon.
You've made like 4 different verbal puns this podcast. You're going strong. One more, you get a kill streak.
That's pretty good.
I will not accept this bullshit.
You were holding on to that one too. You were holding on to that joke. Nice.
Yeah, you look proud. I saw a little movie like just there.
He's like, don't let it slip away. Like, gotta hold on to this because it's so easy to like forget something in the middle of a conversation. He's like, no, gotta hold on to the side joke. I had a side joke too with Onslaught too because there's like that one clip that Brusk uploaded where Katana's like
sassy Katana.
Yeah, she goes, even for you, Shao Kahn, that's cruel. And like she turns away and walks sassy, and I just pictured in my head like Shao Kahn going, like even squeezing his nose, right, going, Katana, you've been murdering people for thousands of years. What the fuck? You're judging me for being cruel? Do you know why you killed him too, Katana? Because I said so. Well, you're my dad. Hey, Liu Kang, if your dad told you to kill somebody, would you? No. See, Katana, you're fucked up. Stop judging me.
That's a fun one. That could be like, Katana takes Liu Kang round to meet her dad, and it's Shao Kahn, and like the dinner table, and she's like, you always do this, Dad. It's like, look, you've been killing people for me for all these years. Kid, would you do that? No. See? It could make for a funny comic.
I just think, because I have no idea what's going with Onslaught, so the fact that Katana and Shao Kahn are still not enemies is already really shocking to me in the story. I was like, oh, we're doing this here?
I think they're just forced to team up. Same with Johnny Cage and
Goro.
Oh,
really? Okay.
Yeah, like Johnny Cage and Goro are together in one of the cutscenes too. That's the infamous "I'm not your bro," which Goro says. He goes, I see them, and I'm not your bro.
All I knew about the story was the intro, where it's like the typical size fight each other. The fact that Baraka is trying to get Draman's mask from Shiva or something, because Shiva is the queen of the Shokan, around the time of what seems to be around the time of MK2. And then from the artwork, from the story that I saw, there's a lot of it with Johnny and Fujin, so I assume that the first chapter is those two going on a little adventure. But I guess there's a lot more than
apparently there's more interesting things that I didn't really. I was watching the Realmcast and they didn't really want to spoil it. But apparently the story takes place in between like MK9, MKX, but in an alternate universe. But it's kind of like the story is around there, is what I've heard that you guys talked about there.
What's so funny is like the worst thing I've seen in Onslaught is that it has to retell events like all the games do. And it gives the dumbest reason ever for Frost to like betray Sub-Zero. Like it just gets simpler and simpler. Yeah,
Oh yeah, Frost is in the game. That's
Yeah.
right.
And so is like Lin Kuei Frost, which everyone likes more, which I find that hilarious. Like everyone prefers like skirted.
Objection.
Yeah, which is just Katana in a parka. It's Katana's mask and
Yeah.
face. Like it is all the characters, all the other characters are based on normal characters. I think even like I think the Black Soldier guy is Jax. It's just harder to tell because he's got like that same texture beard instead of an actual beard, but like Jax has that too. So all the characters are. I mean, the
Somewhat
MK
based on
Mobile
it, yeah.
did that a bit, where like
They spliced
you had
them.
like the big special forces man who had Jax's moveset, but here it's like they're using the designs too. I guess so they can use those assets in cutscenes and such. And you know, with someone I think suggested that they might be planning to port it to consoles later.
Oh
which,
no! Please
if
don't.
it's already, like if it was already built on MK11 assets, it'd make it easier to do that. So you wouldn't need to make as much. I mean, all the assets in this game are based on MK11, just recolored.
Yeah. If you want to do that, put it on the Nintendo eShop. I think that'll be acceptable with that kind of quality. Okay, I was gonna say objection about something because I wanted to bring this up.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying the random Lin Kuei lady is bad or anything like that, because I do think she's not. Yeah, she's
kinda mad,
she's
though.
the new. She's kind of bad though in in the series. But I will say, in my opinion, I don't think everybody likes her more over Frost. I think everybody likes her more because you keep pushing it. You keep constantly complimenting her on Twitter, and people agree with you on that factor. So you're the reason why a lot of people are starting to like her a lot.
I like when people pretend that I have any pull over anybody, like I have any sort of sway. Like I'm such a small Twitter account. I'm lucky to get like 200 hearts, and that's only because
That's
I make
pretty big.
memes. So the idea is that like if I did just like me talking, I wouldn't get like any reception at all. You know what I mean? But at least mine are real. They're not bots. I know that. Like a lot of people you can tell like obviously
True.
have bots because they have 20,000, 30,000 followers and they're lucky to get like 10 hearts on any tweet. And I'm like, yeah, you're legit. Like your followers are definitely legit.
So now we're gonna promote the random Lin Kuei lady on our Combat Kings channel. Please support this character. Hope she makes a future appearance. So yeah, so that's our promotion for her on our channel. I mean, on,
Oh my
on
god!
Combat Kings.
I want all the fan art. I want it to be like a series where like let's say like oh yeah, here we go. Here's a fun comic idea. Like Frost kicks the door open. No, like Frost is like banging on the door. She's like, Sub-Zero, let me back in. I'm sorry, I was wrong. I shouldn't have left the Lin Kuei. You were right. I have so much to learn, but no one answers. So she goes like around the side of like the house, looks through a window, and just sees like Sub-Zero reading a story to like the other Lin Kuei lady, and it's like he has a new apprentice. Yeah.
Maybe like the Lin Kuei ladies, because there's like a bunch of them just all gathering around listening to him talk about stories and stuff like
He has
that.
a harem. Or just her
Multiple
on his
Lin Kuei
lap.
ladies.
Well, I was gonna say originally like her on his lap and he's reading a story to her, but like it'd be probably cuter if she's like just like on the mat and he's like on a chair reading to her or something. I don't know.
Yeah, like a bedtime story kind of way.
Yeah. Next to the fireplace, and she's just like, "Read me a story, Grandmaster." And it's like you've already been replaced. Damn.
So I would like to mention the we are 3 hours in. I do think we should end pretty soon. We can keep talking after this, but I meant like for the podcast.
Blasphemy. Yeah, we're pretty much wrapping it up. That's fair. We've gone on quite the tangents here and there.
Yeah, I think we got some good content.
Yeah,
for
we
people
do.
today.
I do think the funny thing is I don't think we have an intro, nor do we really have an outro for this episode.
Eh.
Bye. Okay, that just ends like. I will say though, I was not expecting our podcast to ever go that political. And well, I mean, to be fair, the definition of political is very broad. But I meant like, I guess maybe kind of talking about Elon Musk is maybe gonna. We'll see what that triggers because I have no idea. I have no idea where that goes because it's always very scary. Oh, I see it! I see your tweet.
I was considering just tweeting the actual quote, but then I thought people might take it too seriously.
I cannot. I actually forgot to mention this in the episode. I'm such an idiot. My merch is here. I'm gonna be starting to wear this like more often on our podcast. I'll be wearing a different one per episode, and I completely glossed over it.
I had this weird observation that I wanted to make because for some reason this idea popped into my head is KK in a wheelchair. Is if you put another K on the front. KKK in a wheelchair.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why that popped into my head, but yes, the KKK should all be put in wheelchairs violently.
I get that comment once per month, I guess. If you had an extra K in front of that KK in a wheelchair, like every fucking month, I will get that same comment.
See, that's a terrible joke, but it's funny when I say it.
Okay, sure.